You need a great opener, like somehow we're adults. Do.
We can record that right
some
now.
Kind of like
we can record that right now.
Everybody be quiet.
Somehow we're adults.
I think that's probably why I like doing the podcast so much. Is like I enjoy educating people.
Yeah.
But I don't like doing it in the traditional sense of being a teacher.
Yes.
Because then it's controlled by the government and fuck the government, bro. I think that there's so many things wrong with it. I mean, that's half the reason I like doing the podcast so much is because it's basically a way of teaching people different things. I mean, that's why the name of the podcast is Somehow We're Adults, because everyone takes different life paths. And that's not something you really think about much when you're in high school. And then like, especially when you come out of high school or college and you're like trying to transition to like adulthood, like school does not do a good job of setting you up for what real life is like.
No, not at all. Yeah. And I think like part of that, especially if you're from a small town and, you know, I just knew if you're smart, you know, you can be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer. But I'm like, you know, your paths, you're like, I don't know. And so I think it's like honestly really helpful to just learn about the kind of paths people take. Just like learning, you know, how'd you get where you got?
Right.
You know?
I mean, so much of it is like when I had Andrew on, I was like, you know, like what the fuck have you done? Like you've done so many different things, and I'm like, there's like
he's had a million lifetimes.
Literally, in 10 years, and I'm literally like, tell me the different, like, how did this all happen? Because like, I mean, everything starts as like a story. That's what I like about it, and you know, to get that story from individuals, you have to like be friends with them and like talk to them and get and like have a full conversation, like a phones put away, like a podcast basically. And that's what I liked about it so much, and that whole concept. Like, I mean, that's really
like facilitates the conversation.
Exactly. It creates a good environment for that kind of conversation to happen.
Yeah.
No distractions, none of that. Yeah, that's the good part.
Yeah, because like, how many times will you talk with somebody like just in like their living room or something like that, or like in the car or something, and you're like, they're like, like
or you're watching a show, like something else is going on.
Yeah, you're not solely focused on communicating and having a conversation, and that's my favorite. Like, I love I like groups are fun too, as far as like talking in groups, but like everyone wants to say something. I mean, that's a normal human thing to like try and cut somebody off and be like, this is what I think. It's more important to say this right now than what you were saying.
Right.
And so it's easier for me to do like the one-on-one stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Not a huge fan of public speaking, surprisingly. Like, you put me in front of a group of people, I'm quiet as fuck. Unless it's like a group of my friends that I know.
And then he won't shut up.
To be fair, none of us do at that point, especially because there's normally alcohol involved if there's a group of my friends.
That's true.
But like in a one-on-one situation, like, I'm cool like talking to anybody. Like, I'll that's what I was saying, I think it was in the last Andrew podcast or one of them, that like I talked with Robbie, the black belt at your gym.
Yeah.
And I literally like I just met this dude, just learned his name, just rolled with him, and I started like doing a podcast interview kind of thing, like next to him. I'm like, so what did you start? Like, how did you get here? Like, how long you been doing jiu-jitsu for? And like the next thing you know, I'm just like asking a bunch of questions and probing like for answers. But that's just my, like, I noticed I do that with like anybody that sounds like if I think about who, like what I think of, like what my first impression of them is I'm like, okay, now tell me your stuff. So, I don't know, it's weird.
Yeah. No, I think that's, people are interesting.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. And then when you told me that you wanted to like that you worked in finance and that you wanted to talk about like you're the one who brought up the idea of you wanted to do a podcast at some point.
Yeah, but it's along that same idea. Is like, I'm like, so maybe it's a fear. I don't know. I just like don't like being like having myself out there again. Like, where does that stem from? Like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
But so I guess that's been like the main thing. And then like I've always told Andrew, like, I want to write a podcast. I want to produce one. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be the person like actually doing it, but
well, you don't have to do video either too, so like you
that's
can keep
true.
your face off of stuff.
Yeah, like you use a fake name, it's like what, your voice, no one's gonna and also like it's kind of, I feel like, you know, a little self-absorbed to think that anyone cares, but they don't.
Well, I mean, so much of culture, like you turn the TV on or like you hear your friends and be like, oh my God, did you see what Kim Kardashian said? And like, you know, when you put yourself out there to be loved, you also put yourself out there to be hated.
Exactly.
And that's something I'm well aware of, as far as like, you know, like I'll post a video on social media or something like that for the podcast, and like like I had several videos get several thousands of plays, and like that's super cool. Like, oh wow, look at the exposure it's getting. People must like this video,
right?
And then you'll have like 4 comments. You're like, you shouldn't be drinking and posting that online. And
yeah,
like,
there's been a couple negative comments, and you're like,
Yeah, literally.
You're like, I'm a guy.
I
Like,
can't control how they feel about it. Like,
Right.
if you don't like it, you like. I always look at it like if you're not my audience, you're not going to listen.
Right.
So if
Yeah,
if somebody
totally.
is my audience, they're going to listen.
Mm,
So
yeah, and I think there's a difference between like like obviously you want to approach like sensitive topics with sensitivity and like kindly, but I feel like you always do that. You're never just like spewing stuff that's like out
I
there. to
try
hurt
to be
people's feelings.
sensitive about it, but then sometimes like
Wait,
we'll have a
wait,
couple
you
of
know, to
drinks,
an
I'll be hanging out with my
extent.
buddies, and I'll
The
be
drunk
like,
ones get a little crazy.
I'm like,
Yeah.
this is stupid. And I mean, that's the beautiful part about like societies is like things do have to be ridiculed.
Yeah,
Like-
yeah. I mean, everything to an extent. But
Yeah.
Mhm,
Without
I
being
totally
like
agree.
crazy. Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree
yeah.
with you. Yeah, there's a fine middle. There's a thin line that sometimes I stomp on, but
Yeah. No, I've never heard
Yeah.
you guys say anything. Maybe I missed some.
you haven't listened enough. Then. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I hope. I don't know. It's just,
I couldn't.
I don't know. I don't. See, I don't. What's
You're like, I don't remember those
No,
episodes. I
really don't.
things that I'm not sensitive to. Other people might be. You know what I mean?
I mean, in that, and you can't control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So whatever. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna do what I like, and if other people like that, then that's what I like.
True.
So if you ever wanted to do one, I would totally help you out any way you want to.
Oh,
Like
thank
I would
you.
like teach you how to like post the stuff. Audio files. If you're just doing audio, it's so
Easy
Easy?
peasy.
That's so easy. When you get video,
Mhm.
because video files are huge,
Yeah.
and moving video files is a pain in the absolute ass.
Yeah.
That's why it takes us so long to post videos. If they moved as quickly as audio files, like we
Uh-huh.
could have this posted today.
Oh, I got you.
Just
So
the
it takes,
audio
like,
file.
A long time.
Well, the video, yeah, it's gonna take once.
Just getting it off the card takes about 6 to 7 hours.
Depending on how long it was. The one with Andrew that was like 5.5
Yeah, it took all
hours.
day.
Oh my
just-
god. I
Yeah,
bet.
and that's just to get it off of the card.
Yeah.
Then you have to put it into an editing software, and you have to add the beginning, add the end, take out the breaks,
Sync
what I
up
mean?
the
Like,
audio, the mics to the video.
Yeah, the editing part takes like
Oh.
Yeah, it's
30 minutes if it's an
maybe an
easy to
hour.
edit
Uh-huh.
podcast, but then by the time you do that, then you have to export it. That's going to take 3 to 4 hours, and then you
Upload
have
it.
to upload it to
Yeah.
YouTube or wherever video it takes. It's the video makes it hard,
Yeah, I got you.
but it's to me, I like the video part of podcasts. I think that's like being able to watch somebody talk. You get the facial expressions, the hand expressions.
Right.
I don't like
Yeah.
to just listen. If I'm gonna watch one, I want to watch it.
Yeah.
Even if I like am listening to a podcast, sometimes I'll Google the person just to like
Yes.
have a visual
Yes.
of like
Yeah.
who they are.
Dude,
Yeah.
I do that with artists too, like songwriters. Like
yeah.
sometimes I hear their voice and I'm like, so like, okay, let me just parallel this. When you read a book, you like visualize what you're
Sure,
reading.
yeah, exactly,
And so it's the
same
same way with when I'm listening to music. Like I'll if I've never heard this person before, I visualize what they look like first.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever heard of the rapper Young Gravy?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like when I visualized him first, I did not picture a bleach blonde white dude. You know what I mean? Like a bleach blonde white dude that's like
Interesting.
6'5", and then like
You're like,
He's
did
like
I spell this
6'7"
right? in
or
the
8.
Google
He's
search?
fucking tall.
yeah, he's
Oh,
a
really?
he's a
Yeah,
tall
he's
ass dude.
tall.
Google it, see
Interesting.
how tall he is. I have no idea. Yeah, but Young Gravy's like he's hilarious to me, but I had no idea what he looked like, and then I saw a picture of him and I was like, what? And how tall is he? 6'6".
6, 7 and a half was believed.
It says 6'6" on the other
There
one
you
below
go.
it.
Yeah.
Tall as fuck.
That's
Yeah.
tall.
It's
That's
tall as fuck. Yeah, he should start jujitsu.
Yeah. Dude, can you imagine like just there would just be limbs all around you? Couldn't escape.
Yeah, I roll with people that are taller than me that are like lanky dudes, and it's
Yeah.
just
Like Chris. Like
yeah,
you really-
literally.
Mhm.
Like so, I'm a bigger dude, and this
Yeah.
motherfucker puts me in a body triangle.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
yeah.
easily,
Mhm,
like it's
mhm.
comfortable for him.
That and he's flexible too, so all of a sudden there will be like a foot where there like shouldn't be a foot because you're like that should be so far away. And then
Yeah.
him sweeping, like if he's sitting, you come in, like his
Yeah.
I can't even like reach him yet, but his feet are already like trying to sweep me in.
Yeah. Do
Annoying.
you think flexibility is a great thing to have with jujitsu?
Oh yeah, like obviously some people use it more than others. Like I feel like my game is really like dependent on my flexibility, but some people use it less. But yeah,
Can you do like splits and shit? Because that's like a goal of mine. That's like somewhat on my bucket list, but I work on it not at all.
So I used to do I did gymnastics growing up. So I used to. I haven't tried. I think I could probably on my left. My left is like my good side. I think
you
I
do
could
a
probably
split
still-
on one side.
Yeah, you do like left
the
foot,
one
right foot,
forward
and then the
and
one in the middle.
Okay, the one in the middle is the only one that I care about.
Oh, okay.
That's the only one that I That's the only one I have to do.
Do
That's
you
the
pra-
one that's on my bucket list.
Well, if you practice every day,
I
feel like
don't.
you can-
That's what I'm saying. I don't
but
do that.
as you get an adult, it's way harder. You
Yeah,
know? But
yeah.
yeah, no, I think flexibility is like hugely important, especially shoulder flexibility.
Yeah.
too.
Oh, I'm learning that one.
Yeah,
Learned that one the
hamstring
hard way.
flexibility. Yeah.
Yeah. Knees too. Most people can't squat down.
Yeah, and a lot of that is like ankle flexibility too.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, that's the whole thing.
Because they're connected, the tendons and all that shit.
Mhm,
Oh.
Yeah. No, it's important.
Yeah. Do you work on stretches and stuff now?
Okay, that's like my weakness is I hate stretching. I don't know what it is. Like I like hate it. I hate the
feel like-
feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, but so
It's like painful, but it doesn't make you stronger.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it does, I guess.
it makes you stronger in vulnerable positions because you like whatever. So that's why I try to do like weighted stuff at where like everything is stretched to like the max. You know, like I'll do like Romanian deadlifts, but like stand elevated, so I'm going like past you know the point of, and then because if you can bring yourself back up where you're stretched like you know further
Yeah.
than normal,
Yeah.
that's good. But
Try to do like a really extended full range of motion.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's good for now. I'm like to the age where I start to think about like my longevity and you know because I like doing activities like that's you know what makes me happy.
That's
So
what working out's for. So that you
Exactly.
can do shit that other people can't. You can go play basketball out of nowhere if you want
yeah,
to.
so I want to be able to do that for as long as possible. And I feel like this is kind of like the first time in my life where I'm really thinking like, oh, I'm actually not invincible. Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's I'm the same way. So like I mean, everybody when I first started working out, I was like, you know, I want to be a bodybuilder kind of thing. That's like a
Yeah.
normal dude thing. Like, let me just get big as fuck.
It's not worth it.
And then I'm like, oh wait, those guys can't move. Most of them. There's
Yeah.
some feats.
There's a guy, Juji Mufu. I don't know if
Yes.
you've heard of him.
Yes, he does full splits.
He does
on
splits
chairs.
between two chairs,
Yes.
shoulder pressing 225.
Yeah,
Right?
he's just
Yeah.
fucking
Like,
That, and that takes so much, like
Yeah.
your core,
Yeah.
everything. But okay, so this is what my brother and I say. Like again, we're gonna be on the internet, so I'm gonna be like, shut up, bitch. But anyways, like, okay, so we always say you have to have 3 things to be like fit. You know, like fit for like the world. If there were like an apocalypse, like whatever, I don't know. And like
Dang, dude, this no being on social media shit, dude. She's like all about like what would you do to survive the apocalypse?
well, just to be like fit. I don't know how else to say
Yeah,
it, but
you're right.
my brother and I always say this: you have to have 3 things. So that could be like flexibility, like speed, endurance, strength. And then I feel like absolute strength is different from body weight strength. It could be agility, but like you need to have 3 of those things. So if all you can do is just like you're really strong, like you need to have 2 other things.
Yeah.
So
That's what I'm figuring out pretty
Yeah,
fast.
because Colton can lift heavy as fuck, but cardio.
Like I can bench 315 right now. I can do like 4 pull-ups.
yeah,
So it's
Yeah.
I'm trying to work on
Yeah,
that.
you know,
it's even for me. Like I can run like not the fastest in the world, but
Yeah.
I can push myself for long. Like I can do long cardio, and I'm pretty strong, I guess, in relation
You're
to
relatively
most
strong, yeah.
people.
I mean, compared to the majority of the population.
But I can't do a pull. I
you're
can
strong.
do like 1 solid pull up.
yeah.
Yeah, and then after that, it's like yeah.
Yeah, what is your 3rd gonna be? Your flexibility. You'll do the splits, and you'll have your 3, and you'll be
I want to be athletic. That's always the thing I say. I want to be able to like manipulate my body through 3D space, but also be strong. Like similar to like what Andrew is.
yeah. And I think that takes like you know a certain amount of body awareness, but I think which is a whole like what does that mean?
You got to be at a
But
perfect weight too. Like you like there's
to
people
be athletic. You think?
or to be like Andrew. Like I feel
Oh,
like
yeah.
like because there's a point that you hit where you're like you could be really good cardio wise and
Mm-hmm.
really good body weight strength wise, like in relation to your body weight. But it's like yeah, but you weigh 125. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
like
yeah.
of course you can do a pull up. Like,
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You're like lifting nothing.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. So
But I want
yeah,
to be
they're
like
lacking
190, being able to do like muscle ups.
Yeah, that's hard. That's
the
like
goal.
Andrew. Yeah,
Yeah.
doing like the handstand push-ups at like a really high weight. Yeah.
Yeah, what a douche.
Dude, I know. Oh, my handstand push- One time, I don't know, we were at the beach and he started whipping them out, and I'm like, okay.
Just whipping out handstand push-ups, dude. Oh my gosh, bro. Like, just chill, dude. Just hang out. We're
Everyone's like,
we're-
wow, look at your man. I'm like, yeah, I know.
That's funny. But that's a like a legit thing though, like to be able to do that and actually be able to like to be strong too.
Yeah,
compared
yeah.
to most people.
The absolute
obviously
strength aspect.
He's not going to be able to bench press more than Colton. You know what I mean?
Exactly,
But, like,
yeah.
you know,
But
he
I can
but he
barely run a mile.
But he can go for a run for
Barely.
3 miles after that too. You know, that's important. I think it's
Yeah.
a balance of all of those things.
Yeah.
Because normally people that want to do the bodybuilding thing, they literally just focus on like their physique and getting stronger. And then like I think there's
There's no functionality to it. That's what I'm
Yeah.
learning. I want functional strength.
Yeah.
functional fitness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's huge. Makes you be able to do whatever. Like
think
if you
it makes
just
you survive the
decide,
apocalypse.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you decide you're like, I'm going to pick up jujitsu. Okay. You can like do that.
You
You
can
can do the
transition.
moves. You know, if you
Yes.
want to pick up a new sport, you can
Yeah.
participate, you know,
Yeah.
without, I don't
Yeah,
know.
it makes the barrier for entry easier.
Yes, and that's like what life is about, just like enjoying things. I feel like, you know.
Yeah. Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on, Hannah.
Like, all right, wrapping
That's
it up.
That's it. That's all we needed. No, I mean, that's essentially what happened with me with jiu-jitsu is like I was playing basketball. We were playing basketball
Quite a bit,
pretty
couple times a
regularly.
week.
Yeah. And I was going for runs, lifting weights, and I like it that it made the transition. I mean, obviously jiu-jitsu is a whole nother game.
Yeah.
But like at least I wasn't worried about like I didn't have to stack cardio on top of it. It was like, oh, I'm just getting choked out. I'm not just getting choked out.
And
like,
I'm
completely-
dying.
Yeah, dead. Yeah.
Yeah.
So and like I was already like strong to a certain point, and like
Yes.
I would be like, okay, cool. Like I don't have to worry about like being completely exhausted by somebody stronger than me.
Right.
So yeah, it's a good
Yeah.
blend.
Good things.
Is that what did you do before? Because how long have you done jiu-jitsu now?
2 and it'll be 2.5 years in a few months. So yeah, a little over 2 years.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
love it.
Yes.
It's fucking crazy, bro. It's an addiction.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like heroin.
Yeah. No, I like remember. So like everyone's like, why did you start? And I just remember, so I had this neighbor. I lived in an apartment in like a not good area because I had like just finished grad school. So, you know, I started the PhD program, but I left with my master's because I was like, this
fuck
isn't-
this.
What a failure.
Yeah, no, literally. My
You
parents,
only got your master's.
my
You're
parents,
not a doctor.
my parents were like, what are you doing? And I was like, I'll figure it out. Like, you know, I don't know. But, yeah, I was living in this horrible area because I was just living on like my, you know, like research stipend, whatever.
Yeah. Which makes you, which is probably not much left over.
yeah, which makes you poor, but it was fine. I was having a great time. And yeah, so we lived in like a not great area and I had this neighbor and he was like this older guy, like, I don't know, 50s. And he would just say like the most disgusting, just like he was awful. And he would make me so angry. Like, and I would just,
Was he just like a creep?
yes, like he was just a creepy guy.
Dirty
And-
old man.
Yeah. And you know, like I feel like at some point there's,
That's not something I've had to experience.
No,
I've-
dudes
that's
don't
so-
experience.
that's the thing. Like,
I've witnessed it from like a side, but
Yeah.
that's just weird.
I feel like at some point, like every girl experiences the female rage. And like wherever that may come from, it's different than the male rage. Like, I don't know. And I was just like, I'm tired of it. Like, it just makes you angry. Like, I would see him and I would just like seethe because I'm like, leave me, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
So then I was like, I need an activity. I need to get this out of me. And like, you know, maybe something, two birds with one stone. You do jujitsu, you can like,
Fuck
you
them
know,
up.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you know,
If
just
this dude ever
release
crosses
some
that line.
tension. Yeah, because like I played a sport in college, like always like did sports, and so obviously now I was just like working out for myself. I'm like, I need something like dedicated, whatever. So yeah, I just like walked into a jiu-jitsu gym, but when people are like, oh, why'd you start? And I'm like, well, there was this old man.
This old creepy ass man.
And like, yeah, that probably wasn't like actually why I started, but it was like a catalyst, you know, because my
Yeah.
brother did, and he was like, oh, I think you'd be good at it, whatever. I think you'd really like it. But I was
That's
just like,
everybody in
whatever.
jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Like that's my biggest problem. Like, have you tried? I feel like I'm like Joe Rogan when he's like, have you tried jiu-jitsu
Jiu-jitsu?
and podcasting? You need to do both.
Yeah. Right.
So I just love him so much. It's
Right.
so
Yeah,
fun. But yeah, it's so much fun.
Mhm.
It's so much fun. So much pain though. Oh my gosh. My
Yeah.
neck just constantly like trying to crack my neck and move
Right.
around and shit. But
Yeah, my old coach at the last gym I was, he was like, the first step is you're the nail. Like
Yep.
you're just getting hammered, and that a lot of learning like occurs in that time, and then one day like you get to be the hammer.
you either get through it or you stop going.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Some people never get to be the hammer, but if you keep doing it, like one day you will be. So
Oh, that's I mean everything. That's one thing I've learned from doing like the podcast and as I've become an adult, because I didn't really have this when I was a kid. I didn't really have like discipline to keep going and doing something. Like I kind of just got to, if there was something I was doing that I decided I didn't like anymore, I would just quit.
yeah,
And I didn't really have, but it was also because I didn't really have a reason to keep going in my mind. It was just like, oh, this isn't fun anymore. Bye.
yeah,
But yeah, so I've learned that so much of life and like succeeding in life, and from what I've noticed of people who are like quote unquote successful, are people who just found what they love to do and they just kept going to it,
yeah.
and they became super confident in it.
How do when and how do you feel like you learned that?
I'm pretty good about learning from other people, in my opinion.
Observant.
Yeah, like I'm not a person who has to make the mistake myself to learn from it. You know what I mean? So many people.
Are you a youngest child?
Yeah.
Yeah. Watch your siblings. Okay, I like to
I have
guess
one,
like.
I have one sibling, so it's
Okay,
not
you're
a big
yeah,
deal.
that's me too.
Yeah.
I have an older brother, but
Yeah,
I always
same.
like to guess people's like order because I
Yeah.
feel like it makes you like who you
Yeah.
are. You know? But yeah, you
That's important.
probably watched them and they messed up,
Yeah.
and then you were like, oh, I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah, and well, you follow in their footsteps.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You,
Mhm.
you wear hand me downs, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you didn't, but I did.
I did, even
Yeah.
though he was a boy.
Yeah.
But I wanted to be like him, you know,
Yeah.
like same thing. Yeah.
I still, I wanted to be like my brother too when I was
Yeah.
growing up, and but like I learned. That's a good point. I'd never thought about that. That's probably where that stems from. But like you listen to people who know what they're talking about when it comes to a subject. Like
Yeah.
you don't take finance advice from broke people. You don't take what I
True.
mean. Like you don't take health advice from fat people. It's
Yeah.
It's just like that mentality, but like in all aspects of life. So like, I think I just noticed it from that. You know what I mean? And the people that I viewed as successful might not necessarily have the utmost money in the world. That's another
Right,
thing too.
yeah.
Is like that they try to idolize when you're a teenager and in your mid or early 20s. They try and like be like, oh, the guy that has the car and the house and the jewelry and the watch and the sunglasses and all this bullshit, and they're like, that's the guy that you want to be like. And I'm like,
Meh.
seems fucking miserable to me.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Seems like a miserable life where you don't get to experience like the things that I think are beautiful in life are very hard to get.
Yeah.
And money is not the thing that I think needs to happen. It should be. Too many people are like out there and be like, I want to be a billionaire. I want to be rich. I want to be this, that, and the other. I'm like everybody does. That doesn't make you different.
Right. Yeah. Like how are you gonna get there? Or yeah.
Or not even how you're gonna get there. Like don't just focus on getting the money. Like focus on like what you love and then learn to monetize that.
Sure.
And then
yeah.
it comes like secondhand, and that's the thing I've noticed about like I think do you know who Warren Buffett is?
Yeah.
So everyone knows who Warren Buffett is.
Yeah.
But I mean, at like 6 years old, he was like buying stocks and like reading financial reports and like
Right.
loved reading books and stuff like that, and like that's what he was interested in.
Mm-hmm.
And he made billions of
He was,
dollars
like, the
doing
best
what he's
person at
interested
that,
in.
yeah.
There's a reason he's as rich as he is, still doing what he does. Like he just loves what he does.
Yeah. And
That's
I
the
think you
goal.
can, I mean, he's also known for being like a generous and like nice guy. Like think about all the billionaires now, especially, you know, I don't know. There are a lot that are just like, they're kind of assholes, you know,
Douches.
but
Like,
yeah.
like Dan Bilzerian. Like, you know what I mean? He's
Yes,
just, like,
yes, exactly.
He's just, I mean, he might not be in real
Yeah.
life. Like I've listened to podcasts with him before, and he seems like a just weird dude.
Yeah.
But like also like that seems like a hollow pursuit of like just having. I mean, he even says that like he doesn't really he misses being able to enjoy buying stuff because he can't buy stuff
It's
anymore.
like all
to
the
make him
rich
happy.
people, there's nothing to buy for them. They've bought everything.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you do?
Yeah. That's why you should always invest in healthcare, because once you have everything, then you just have to focus on making your life longer.
Yeah.
That's my stock tip of the day. I'm
Well,
kidding.
yeah, that's
I'm kidding. I am offering no financial advice. I'm not a. That's my.
But Bitcoin. No, I'm just
Yeah.
kidding.
So Dogecoin.
Yeah. So, but no, that was my kind of like philosophy of life is like I would rather live in a cardboard box and love my life than live in a
Yes.
mansion and hate it.
Right. Yeah.
And so like I've worked in jobs that I just despised and was miserable in, and then I've worked in jobs that I've loved, and like like maybe that's what keeps drawing me back to the podcast is just like I can do this for free forever. Like,
Yeah.
in my mind, like
Right.
I love doing this, and if it ever makes money and like does something like that, that would just blow my mind. It would
Yeah.
be like it would seem I would
Like,
get imposter
how am I
syndrome.
getting? Yeah. How am I getting paid to do this
Yeah.
thing that I? Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like work.
And that's what I think people should look after is like the thing that they like I don't paint at all. I have no desire to paint. I have no desire. Like I'm not even a person who likes to go to like art galleries. Like I'm not.
Yeah.
And
Not an artsy guy.
literally. And like but I respect the hell out of people that love painting and like that's what they do.
Yeah.
Like I've had several painters on the podcast now, and like
Interesting.
but it's a discipline. They literally
Yeah.
show up and do it like all the time.
Yeah.
Like, whether they want to or not. Like that's just
Right.
something that they make time to do it because it's important to them. Just like
Mm-hmm.
the podcast is for me. Because especially when you become an adult, it's so easy to just give your time to frivolous shit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so if you're not focused on what you want to do, like I most people don't even have an idea of what's on their bucket list and what they want to do with their life, and they let life happen to them instead of letting their dictating what happens with their life.
Yes, like I can't count the amount of people where it's like, oh, they have an 8 to 5, and they're like, I don't have time to do anything, and I'm like, yes, you do. All you do is work an 8 to 5. Like I don't mean that. Obviously some people have kids and whatever. Like that's a whole other thing. But if you're like single and you just have your job, like you got like to fill up your life, like you have to have other things, you know.
You should be like not riding right to the rev limiter on your health wise, but I think you should be like time wise. Like I feel like oftentimes where I'm like, okay, I have to stay up late today to like do dishes because
Yeah.
like I was too focused on like jujitsu today and like
Yes.
all of my. I call them hobbies, but like I feel like they're like hobbies. Just sounds like you do arts and crafts. In the
Right.
background,
No,
you know what I mean?
yeah,
These are
yeah.
things that I plan on doing for forever if I can, like nonstop.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I don't want to live a life of my. I guess my thing is like I don't want to be on my deathbed and being like, what did I wish that I did that I didn't? And the
Yeah.
podcast was one of those things where I was like, if I got to the end of life and was like, well, I wish I would have.
Yeah.
I wish I would have tried or given it a little bit more effort or, you know. I'm like,
I
don't
think
wanna
that's
do
a very admirable quality that you do things and that you recognized at one point that you know, weren't in, you know, you were like, would just, I don't know. I think that's very self-aware. I think a lot of people
I try to
aren't
be.
so much like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I try to be, but it also like I guess I grew up being comfortable with being uncomfortable because because I had health issues and stuff. I ended up in like the hospital a lot too, and like my normal was chaos.
Mm-hmm.
So like all through my childhood was some form of chaos, and I guess I just kind of got used to it.
Well, I'm sure that also gives you another perspective of, you know, when your body is well, you're like, look at how many things I can do.
Right.
And you know, some people do take that for granted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like when I had COVID and I was like sick, and I literally was like laying on the couch watching TV. And I watched TV for 2 days straight, and I literally was like, I don't understand. Like I'm literally like, I would like I'm thinking about repainting the inside of the house at this point. Like I'm
Yeah.
just so bored.
Like making up something to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like literally, I was going crazy. I can't. I just don't understand how people like, and that's a lot of society is they literally like, they get home from work, what's for dinner?
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna have something delicious. They eat something that tastes really good, but is
And
really
then-
unhealthy for them.
And they hang out until they go to bed.
And they watch TV
Yeah.
or the news, and they and then they go to bed and try it the next day. And I'm like, I feel like the content that those people are consuming at the end of the day when they're eating dinner is they're watching extraordinary people live their lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, that's so sad to
that's
me.
it. Mhm.
That's so sad to me.
People
It's like,
live vicariously through the actions of others.
yeah, they'll like go like watch the Discovery Channel and watch like a treasure hunt or something like that, and it's like, wow, that's so cool. And I'm like, to go do that.
Yeah.
Go like take steps to like get a little bit closer to that. Like go to dive school. Go to the water. Go swim.
Yeah, yeah.
Do something.
Uh-huh.
And most people don't want to do that.
Right. Yeah. Wow. I'm rethinking my whole life. Right now.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's just you do. I mean, jiu-jitsu was like a thing
We
for you
are
like
pretty
that.
busy people. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not very good at like, I think one reason that me and Andrew go together so well is like we're just like not ones to sit around. Like I want to have plans all the time. Like,
Yeah,
and whatever it is, like try new things, whatever. Yeah.
I definitely stretch my time. Like yesterday, I literally was like, I was thinking about all the shit I had to do during the day. Not had to do. It's stuff I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But I was literally like,
Like, how am I gonna have time for
fuck,
this?
I don't have time to like screw around. Like I don't like. I'm like, okay, do I have time to have food? Like
Yeah.
like I push my time to the very like edge, and I do that pretty regularly.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's
A full life.
time is such a commodity.
Mm-hmm.
That's-
Time is money.
Yeah. I mean, well, it's just a commodity. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm
No,
just
I
like,
got you,
like
yeah.
most people, they get to the end of their life and they just wish they had more time. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Like, have you ever heard the thing I saw it on social media? It's not original, but the guy said, if I give you $10 million, you'd want it, right? And you're like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, but what if the stipulation for getting that $10 million was you die tomorrow? It's like, oh, no. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, so your life is worth more, like the length of your life is worth more than $10 million to you. It's like, do you think you'll ever have $10 million? Oh, I don't know. And it's like, well, like, I don't know, that thought exercise of like, what's more value? At what point would you like have that cutoff of being like, oh, if you gave me this amount of money, I would sign up for 75 years. You know
Your
what I mean?
your final, how much are your final years worth
Yeah.
to you?
Yeah. And I don't know, but the things that are important to me in life, the things I'm like most like, I'd like to be an outstanding person at the end of my life that people that I'm more important than anything else that I'm proud of.
Yeah.
And then at the end of that is like somebody that other people look up to or would want to be like, would like the people that I look up to, I want to hear their stories and stuff like that.
Yes.
And like you ever meet somebody like an old married couple and they're like, we've been married for like 60 years. You're like, no shit. Like, let me just pick your brain for a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, talk to me about your life because that's like such a feat.
Right. No, it really is. Yeah. Especially
That's
nowadays.
hard to do though. To
It
be
is.
married for that long is like it's a you have to do like work at it.
Yeah,
And that's
it's definitely
but
work.
that's the things that like the fruit of your labor kind of thing.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of labor. But that's the stuff that I want. Like getting a black belt in jiu-jitsu is going to be a motherfucker.
Right. Yeah. It'll come one day. You know?
Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah. But that, like, similar to, money versus living a good life, like whatever, and enjoying the things that you do and making money off of that. Like Andrew and I were having this conversation, and I was like, like every very wealthy person like I've had in my life that I've gone to like for advice, whatever, they've also been, there's outliers, but most of them are also like the kindest, most respectful, like generous people. And it's like, I just feel, you have it, like a wealthy person, they're automatically like mean, whatever, they like climb to the top, they stepped on other people. But
that does exist.
It does.
very
But I feel like, in a lot of cases that's not true, because like people want other people around them that have those positive attributes, and like that, I think in a lot of ways, like that is how you get to the top. And maybe those people have experienced like kindness and generosity from others. And so now they're looking out for you. But I don't know, like when I was trying to get a job, I like talked to a lot of people because like I graduated in COVID. And so obviously it was really rough because like no one was hiring. So I would just go to people and be like, hey, like friends of mine, just anyone I knew, and be like, hey, I'm looking for, like, do you have any advice? I'd be like, oh my gosh, like let me reach out to this person. Like they would set up, even like sometimes people would be like, oh, my company's not hiring, but like, let me tell you how I got where I got, and I'm going to set you up with this person and you can have a conversation. Like I can give you other avenues to explore. And like, that's how I got my job, was one conversation that a friend of a friend set me up with.
Yeah.
She worked in my field. Yeah. And she gave me this idea of this company and this path. And it wasn't my first job I got. I obviously worked a different job before this, but then it became like a goal, because I was like, that conversation with her sounds so cool. You know what I mean? And I don't know.
It inspired you.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know, just hardworking people are just great to me.
Well, do you know who Mark Cuban is?
Yes.
Yeah,
I
so-
follow him on LinkedIn. I love him. I think he's
LinkedIn.
hilarious. I think he's so
All right,
funny.
Grandma, chill out. No, I saw a video. I guess somebody like asked him like, what would you say was the most important thing that you learned to get to where you're at now? And he said connections.
Yes.
Like
yeah.
having connections with people. He's
And
like,
being
"That's
humble
huge."
enough to be like, what, like, please teach me something. I think a lot of people try to act like, they already know or something, but that's,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, I mean, most people like, that's something that like I try to be good about. I mean, it's hard because most people have like an ego, and getting over your own ego is like a thing, And,
it really is.
it's hard to be like, hey, I don't know what you just said, or like, hey, I'm not understanding this, like because nobody wants to seem dumb, but
Yeah.
like that's the only way you get smarter is by learning
It's
stuff.
true.
So just asking questions, and I guess that high school kind of sets you up for like to not ask questions,
Right.
Because if you ask a question that seems dumb to somebody else, they're gonna ridicule you, and then you're
Yeah.
like, oh no, shut up, I'm sorry, I'll stop talking.
Yeah.
know
Like,
what
I
I
don't
mean?
want to say anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so kind of like set you up for that. But I was always kind of person that's like, hey, fuck you, I'm trying to learn this. I don't
Yeah.
care about what you think.
Facts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember I had to learn that in graduate school, because it's like it's a small like cohort, and obviously like everyone is trying to seem like they're the smartest in the cohort. But at one point I just had to, I was terrified to ask questions. I would literally like stare at my professor like they knew I wanted to ask something.
Yeah.
And like after they'd be like, are you good? I'm like,
I do a lot of
actually,
this.
can we talk about all this stuff? And they'd be like, who cares? Like, they don't know.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, if you have a question, I guarantee you, like, none of it, because it was all guys, and it was like just me, and like, which made it a little more, I hate to like bring that up, but it made it a little more intimidating, because like you don't want to be like, oh, there's the dumb girl.
This dumb girl. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
you don't want
like-
to be the dumb girl.
Yeah, and the grad program was like the biggest ego check, because you all think you're so smart for like getting in, whatever, but but then you're like, I don't know anything.
I think that's what makes I think that's what makes people intelligent, is the
Yeah.
recognition that they don't know something, but the tenacity to look after getting the answer.
Yes. I think a huge like sign of intelligence is knowing, is just realizing that you can be wrong and trying to see other people's points of view.
Right.
I think there's so many people who like are unable to see what another person can see,
That's ignorance.
And again,
though.
ignorance, ego,
Like
all that
ego
stuff.
ego to me, the more egotistical I see somebody, the more that like, to me, that makes them ignorant in my mind.
Yeah.
Because like I'm like, wow, you haven't gotten over yourself yet?
Yeah.
Oh, like that's been years.
Yeah,
in
the
like,
world
that's
is-
been long gone for me.
And the world is so much bigger than you,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And you see that too with like I think that's probably one of my favorite things about jiu-jitsu is like you
Yeah.
can see somebody who like walks in with this like ego, like, oh,
And then they're like-
I'm a big strong dude, and it's like,
And the little guy like messes them up, and they're like, oh
no,
my
you
God.
send in Hannah. And you're like, just like, let's send in Hannah, and just this chick is just gonna absolutely wreck this yoked dude.
I actually went against someone. It was either last week or the week before, but he was like a muscular guy, and he was like, I was like, hey, do you want to roll? Like I kind of roll with like the same people, whatever. But everyone had a partner, so I was like, hey, do you want to roll? And he was like, this is my second day, and I was like, okay. I was like, that's totally fine. And like he was trying so hard, and like he just kept trying harder. But
You
like
started to
I
feel
was
bad
like,
for beating his
yeah.
ass so bad.
And I'm not saying like there will be a point where, you know, he destroys me because he's bigger, stronger, and he actually learns jujitsu. But just you can just see like they're a guy and they're like, no. Like,
Yeah, dude, that's the hardest part, and like that's why I think that's one of the things I try to be good about with
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu is like when I rolled with you the one time and you just beat my ass for 5 minutes. Like at the end of it, I literally was like, I've like it was so bad. It was so bad. I just got my ass
No.
beat. But regardless,
It happens.
But I'm okay with that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that's how it should be.
yeah.
And,
Well, yeah, because I would always get frustrated because people would be, I don't know, it's like they were surprised, and I would go to Andrew, I'd be like, I'm so mad that they're surprised because I've been doing this way longer than them.
I
I'm
was-
like, do they think I'm like I didn't get it? And he was
Yeah.
like, no, it's because like it's just unexpected. They don't think that's possible. And you know, yeah, I'm like, with time comes experience. Like, duh,
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, jiu-jitsu is one of those things that like a gap in what they know and what you know feels like miles. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Has Andrew ever told you about like the skull and like the? Okay, some video game he plays, there's like levels. Has he told you about this?
No.
Okay, I don't play video games, but in some game he plays, there's like levels, and if they're so far above you that like it just you can't see what level, it just shows a skull and crossbones. So we'll
you're
say
gonna die.
yes.
You're way out of level and they're gonna destroy you.
Yeah, it's like you can't even see. And so sometimes in jujitsu, it's like he'll be comparing two guys, and I'm like, I don't know which one's better because they're both skull and crossbones to me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
everything is relative. People are like, oh, you're good at jujitsu, and I'm like, no. In the grand scheme of things, I'm awful. But you know,
Right.
it
But to
is.
somebody
it's
who
all,
walks off the street, you're gonna fucking split
yeah,
their
it's
shit.
all
Yeah.
relative. And someone who just started, me and Andrew are the same. You know,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm like, we are not the same. You
Yeah.
know, so yeah.
Yeah, and but
That's how it is a lot of things in life, though. I mean,
But-
Yeah, so yeah, we started using the skull and crossbones everything. Like, oh, they're skull and crossbones to me.
I mean, like going back to the ego thing, so many dudes are like they have this false sense of of what they are and like their strength and stuff like that, and they're like, you know, and not to say that I've never been like that, because I've been like that too. Like, and jiu-jitsu has been a great humbling thing for that, because
Yeah.
you know, you go like, oh, I'm a big dude, I'm 220 pounds, 6 foot tall, like I'm beating most people up, and,
Yeah.
and to some point that's probably true.
Yeah.
But that's also compared to people who aren't
Right,
6
like on
foot
the
tall and
street.
220
Yeah.
pounds. You know what I mean? Who haven't had the same experiences that I've had. But it's like, then you walk into jiu-jitsu and there's like Hannah just walking around and she's like, oh yeah, let's roll. And then you just like, next thing you know, like fucking like, why does everything hurt right now? Yeah. Like, why am I going unconscious right now? And like, it's just, it's a huge ego check, because like there's that, like you said, like to me, you and Andrew are the same, because you guys are so far away from how like my skill level that to anybody walking off the street, like you said, you guys are the same, but you guys might not be the same when you guys roll.
Yeah,
but
not
that's
at all,
different. Yeah.
unfortunately.
yeah. But I think that's one of the things that makes it so awesome, is like it keeps your ego in check, and so many people don't have that.
Yeah.
And then you know, it's just a cycle kind of
Yeah.
thing. Their ego doesn't get in check, and you know, they don't become beginners at stuff.
Yeah, I think in jiu-jitsu there's the opportunity for a lot of like character growth. Not everyone, I think, takes advantage of it.
But that's like, I mean, there's so many things like that.
Yeah.
People only want to do what they're comfortable in, because you know what they're comfortable.
Oh yeah,
in,
so many
yeah.
people quit because it's just like, I mean, it's jarring. You're touching someone else. You're very close. It's uncomfortable. It
Yeah,
hurts.
just getting used to, like, I mean, you're basically aggressively hugging somebody.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it's, as weird as it is. Like the amount of this is probably the grossest thing, but like I'm sure you can attest to this. But like, I'll go to like open mats or something like that, and I'll like, hey man, what was your name again? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
you don't know
I
their
don't even-
name. They're like, oh, that guy I always roll with. I don't know his name.
Yeah.
I have no idea what
He
his life
sometimes
is
wears
like
a purple
outside of
rash guard. Like,
me.
yeah.
That's like the jiu-jitsu joke, is you're just constantly describing other people
Yeah.
at the gym, like that one guy, you know,
Yeah.
because you don't know their names. But
Yeah, but like, you, as disgusting as this is, like you're basically like you're getting their sweat on you. You're
Bathing in
getting
it.
yeah.
Mhm.
Like I've had hair in my mouth plenty of times.
It's
Other people's.
yeah.
And maybe it's mine, maybe it's theirs. I don't know. You just like, and you leave looking like you just got in a fist fight. You know what I mean? You just like your clothes are all messed up, hair's all jacked up,
Yeah.
face looks like it's been like smushed against the ground,
Right.
and I don't know. It's like people don't have that. Like it's a very weird thing. I remember my first time in jiu-jitsu, but like so many people, especially with girls and guys, that's what makes it weird. As far as like to the outsiders,
Yeah.
you'll see like a chick like rolling with a dude, and they're like, you're like okay with that? I'm like, I swear to you, when you roll with another person that's especially like somebody who's really skilled like you, like you're just getting your ass beat the whole time. You're worried about survival.
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah,
can't think
it's
about anything
not-
else but like I'm like, okay, like I need to slip my elbow out. You know what I mean? It's so, it uses so much of your brain. And I think that's what people like about it too.
Oh yeah, because you can't think about anything else. You
Yeah.
know, like even if you're stressed out, like it'll go away because you can't think about another thing and do.
Yeah,
jujitsu.
changes. If you have something that's like sitting on your mind. The other thing I was going to mention as far as jiu-jitsu is concerned is like when you leave jiu-jitsu, not every time are you feeling great. Like there's a lot of
No.
times, especially earlier, like I leave now and like sometimes I just drive home and I'm like, why the fuck did I tap?
Yeah, I would. Especially, I took it so seriously in the beginning. Like, I don't know. I mean, I still do. Like, it's
Yeah.
a big part of Andrew and I's lives. But
You're just okay with losing.
Yeah, and I think I always like think about it at the beginning because at my first gym there were no girls. So I mean I'm new and I'm a girl. I'm not gonna win. Like it was a long time before I actually was like submitting people. But I would cry sometimes on the way home.
Yeah.
Like that is bonkers. Like this is just a hobby. But like I would, and I sometimes I would like call Andrew because we were long distance at that point, and I would like tell him what happened. I'd be like, and I didn't. I don't know why. And I'm bad at jujitsu. And he was like, you're not bad.
I could just hear Andrew.
Yeah. Yeah. He handles me very well. But yeah, that only happens like occasionally now. And sometimes it's just like, why do I do this? But
Yeah,
why do you do
literally.
anything? Why do you do
Literally.
anything? You know, it's a good
But
use of time.
It made me want it even more. Those days when I drive home, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, dude, the amount of
Yeah.
times I've asked myself, why the fuck am I doing this? And then somebody off the street, like, what was it, Juan, the other day, we were doing a podcast, and he had mentioned he'd done jujitsu for a while, and I was like, okay, we can roll. Like,
Yeah.
that's cool. And then, like,
When Adrian wanted to, and I was just looking at them both. I'm like,
you sure?
"You sure about that, brother?"
And I'm not even that good. But
No,
it's just
but
like,
It's relative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You say that, but like in the time you've been doing it, like you've learned
thank
very
you.
quickly. Yeah.
Appreciate that. I don't feel like it, but I
And
have a
nobody
lot of
feels
days.
it. I feel like it doesn't matter what stage you're at. No one feels like they're doing it.
Well, I also put myself in a lot of situations where I lose.
I think that's good though, because unless some people only put themselves in situations where they win, and that's not super great for your.
No,
You don't learn if you win.
yeah, like it almost becomes boring when you just dominate another person. Like I feel bad about it. Like I don't like that because I know how that makes them feel.
Yeah, and that's good to practice submit. Like if you're working on a brand new submission, like that's great.
Yeah,
But
I'll throw all other submissions away and just work on the new one.
Yeah, exactly. That's most beneficial, I think.
Sometimes it's nice to humble somebody too, like somebody who's new and like they feel a certain type of way, and you can feel they're really, really trying, and it's like, okay, take my back, dude. That's
Yeah,
cool. You
yeah.
can have it. Oh, I'm out. Look at that.
Yeah,
Haha,
yeah.
bitch. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
that feels good. But like I'll seek out Andrew to roll with, and like I don't stand an absolute chance. That's what I love about it though, is like I'm not afraid to just tap 14 times in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
To Andrew, so it's like whatever, or to anybody. Like
Right.
that's why when I rolled with Robbie, who's been doing it for almost 20 years, and he's a just absolute savage. And I was like, it's just gonna. I know that I have this safe word. Just say tap. You know what I mean? Like I have a
There
safe
you go.
word.
Yeah. I
It's
always
fun.
walk away from that role being like, oh, I'm so dumb. But
Yeah, I've got so much to learn.
Yeah.
So many things.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's the most fun ever. I can talk about it forever. Most people are
Yeah.
probably like toned out by now, but it's whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Once you enter the cult, that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of us. Yeah. I say it's
Yeah.
like doing heroin. That's what when people ask me like what's like. I've never done heroin, but I imagine it's similar. You're just like, oh, why do I do this? But I love it.
Sitting
Yeah.
there itching, you're just like,
Yeah, literally. Like I was, I didn't have class yesterday, and I was like, oh, there's open mats today. I need to go. I'm like, oh, but I got shit I need to get done. And I'm like, oh, but I could go to open mats. I'm like, wait, I'm going to open mats. And I'm just gonna get my ass beat for 2.5 hours. I'm gonna be exhausted.
It's fun for some reason.
I don't know. I'm a sucker for pain. I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah.
A little. Everyone. I always say like anyone who does jujitsu, like there's something like a little bit wrong with you. If you get really into it, there is something a little bit wrong with you. Everyone has their thing. Like we all understand. It's fine.
I like the community of it too.
Oh yeah. Like I've met my best friends there.
Yeah, it's like I've gotten new friends since going there, and it's like I don't know. There's something about like a community of struggle, I guess. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Like, trying to think of like parallels. Like when we go hunting, I guess is probably the best one because you're out there like in the middle of the woods. There's no power. There's no running water, and
You can just
yeah, like we're all out there trying to achieve the same thing, and you know,
bonding
we
through
hang out,
experience. Yeah.
we talk shit. Like that's half the fun of it. Is just standing around talking shit.
It's like I don't do jujitsu, but I can compare that to working out, like going to a gym. That's how it was for
Yeah.
me growing up. Like you're
Yeah.
all there trying to be better at lifting weights.
Like, oh, that's the one dude who's always
Literally,
here.
I would have so many friends, and I'd be like, I don't know your name, but I know I can spot you on this, and you spot me on this, so we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My brother has a group of guys that he works out with. He works out with them multiple times a week, and he doesn't know their
That
names.
was exactly my situation.
like
Yeah.
yeah. And he's like, yeah, I can't remember. And like
I don't know, but-
they meet each other like 3 times a week.
That's just hey, bro.
yeah,
Literally.
exactly.
Yeah.
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 But yeah, I read this like study once that men bond through, obviously, and you know, there's always outliers, but men bond through experience, whereas like women can just like you can just sit there and like talk and like become friends, whatever. But men need something to typically to bond over. But I
Makes
feel
sense.
like I need that as well. Like I need something.
Yeah.
I'm not very good.
I think it's a
with-
human
yeah.
thing because we come from
Oh,
like
totally.
small
Yeah,
tribes.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I mean? We come
Yeah,
from
this
small
was just like-
tribes, and so many people just they seek out their tribe on TV.
Yeah.
You know, and that's sad to me.
That's a good point. Yeah. Yeah. I think the, like, what I'm trying to think. I read this book about how we've lost like the third place. Like you have work, home, and then like another place you bond, whether that's church. Used to be, it was for a lot of
Church.
people, it's church. Like,
Yeah.
but wherever that is, you know, there's like a maybe like a diner that you all hang out, whatever. Now we've really lost that. And just like how humans connect, like we've just lost a lot of that. What's it called? I'm trying to think. Whatever, it doesn't matter. But yeah, I think we're missing out on that in a lot of
It's like
situations.
one of like Joe Rogan says it on his podcast. Sometimes like the worst thing you can do to somebody is like put them in solitary confinement, like take other people away from them.
Yeah, can you imagine?
Yeah,
Go crazy.
that dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's one of the things that's scary about working from home. Like is like if you're just there by yourself, it's like
Yeah.
all by
Which is like, someone was asking me, they were like, you go to jujitsu every day? And I'm like, yeah, but I work from home. So like, it's good for me. Even if I don't want to go, like which, I mean, there's always days where you're like, I don't want to go.
point.
But once you're there, I'm like, I'm happy, you know?
Yeah.
It's it's good for me. Yeah. I need to
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, I don't know what it is because sometimes I'm that same way too. Like there's been times I'm like on my way to jiu-jitsu and I'm literally like I don't want to do this. Just today it's just like I just want to lay in bed. Like I don't want to go physically exert myself and I don't want to have the potential of getting fucked up. And then I always
Yeah.
leave feeling glad that I went.
Yeah, and that's just like, you know, it's the discipline. And that's what I always tell people. They're like, how can I get good at jujitsu? And I'm like, you have to go all the time.
Just do it.
Yeah, like you just have to go. Like just make it your default, you know, don't like contemplate it every day. Like just go.
Yeah. That's how like but everything is that way. So like
That's true.
woodworking.
Yeah.
Like I am the person like I can watch YouTube videos of people building furniture for hours. I've done it several times. Like I can literally just sit there and watch people just make shit. Like that's fun as fuck. And I've tried to do it myself and I just don't have the patience for it. I end up
Yeah.
like it's fun on occasion, but that one I could say is truly a hobby. Like woodworking for me would just be fun on occasion.
Right.
But to get to the level where I'm making like super duper intricate tables and like, furniture and shit like that, like I don't know if I ever get to that point.
Yeah.
But it's a discipline. I mean, people literally like that's what they do. Like Saturday, that's what I'm doing. I'm going to Home Depot, getting some lumber, or going to the lumber yard, and they just show up and
Yeah.
they just put the time in. And you have to be, I guess, willing to fail.
You
Yeah.
have to make it part of your schedule too. Like
Yeah.
brushing
Yeah.
your teeth,
Yeah.
eating breakfast. You have to do it.
Yeah,
That's
like
what-
going to the gym.
Yeah.
Literally. Yeah.
My dad, he does like a lot of woodworking. He made a lot of my furniture, but and I'm kind of sad. Like I never learned it from him, but it's like his quiet time, you know. It's kinda,
Yeah.
it's like his thing, but yeah.
So
And
some people cooking is that for them.
yeah, exactly. Mhm.
Cook, I love cooking. Like,
You do?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for certain. And like that's like it's a different form of art. You know what I mean? And you can, I don't know. So many people watch it like Food Network and like the videos on Instagram and stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that
yeah.
of like people cooking and stuff. And like, you know, it's just the different things. You just have to find something that time seems like it passes by quickly and that you really love it. Like that's what I mean. That's really what life is about, is finding the things you enjoy to do and
Yeah.
you know, doing them with a passion. But there's also a certain level where it's like, you know, maybe don't do it to the point where like you are homeless.
Right. Yeah. Mm.
But you have to be very disciplined with your time,
Right.
like
Yeah.
brushing your teeth.
Yeah. Like I used to get up for probably 6-7 years, 4 a.m. every single day, go to the gym for 2 hours every day.
I wish I still had
Definitely.
that same energy. Because
Like I can't do it anymore, but
Yeah.
now I have a gym at the house, so I just work out there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's convenient. Yeah.
Yeah.
waking up early shit's hard.
It sucks so bad.
My body
You're like
just
you have to go to
doesn't-
bed at like 8:00.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
you got to get up at like 3:30 to
The
get
problem
to the gym
is
by
I'm,
4.
I'm like
It's
I feel
brutal.
like there's time frames when I'm tired. It's like 10 o'clock is when I start to get tired. 9, 10 o'clock is when I start to get tired, and then like between 6 and 7 is when I'm like, okay, I'm awake even if I don't set an alarm.
Mhm.
But like
Okay. Yeah.
like I don't know, like if I try and like move either of those numbers where I stay up later
Mm-hmm.
and do more in the evening time, or if I move the number in the morning and try and wake up earlier, like it is not easily sustainable for me.
I gotcha.
Because
Yeah,
your-
it's like
your
your
routine.
natural. Yeah,
Yeah.
and your clock is
Yeah,
very established. it seems
circadian
like.
rhythm, is that what it is?
I wish I could
Am
be
I
one of those
making that
people
up?
that like only sleeps like 5 hours a night.
There are people like that. Okay,
Very,
I'm not
very
gonna
small
like,
percentage of people. Yeah.
I've always needed a lot. I've just always been like a sleepy girl. Like I don't know, like I can fall asleep like that. But like 9 hours is how I feel good. But that is a lot of time. Like
It
I
is.
don't get that. But like if I get
Nine
I'm like
hours. is-
7. I'm 6 to 7. 8's preferable.
if I sleep like 9 hours on average for like a week, I
Yeah.
start to feel like I'm caffeinated all the time, whether I have caffeine or not.
Yeah.
Like I literally just feel good.
which is like imagine if you could just do that all the time.
I know, but then I would have so much less time for like.
I
feel
know.
like my life would start to fall apart.
I always say I need 2 more hours in the day. Like that's if I could just have 2 more.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Yeah. Which
Just
is-
2. That's not asking for much.
Yeah. Yeah. Which must mean that you're enjoying life somehow if you wish there
Yeah.
were more.
If I
I
wish
don't
I-
know.
if I wish for
Just
more time.
Good. Yeah.
That's a good thought. 2 more hours a day. Oh
it would just like make things, yeah.
because I would devote those to sleep and just continue doing what I'm doing now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would devote one of those to sleep and then one of those to
Well, if
I
I,
would
devote
put-
if I devote both of them to sleep, then I have more energy in the other things I already do, and I'll
and do
get
them
them done
faster and more efficiently. Yeah, I'm all about efficiency. All the time, like if we're doing something, Andrew, I'm like that's not efficient. But yeah, I would sleep one, and then one I would put in between, because like Andrew's opening up the new gym, and
Shout out. That's
yeah,
cool. That's
yeah,
super cool.
Crazy Hernando. Yeah.
Gracie Hernando, yep.
Yeah, but I'm trying to teach the kids classes, but right now we live an hour away, and
Oof.
it's like I'm getting done with work at 5, but the
You can't
kids.
do anything else while you're driving, too.
I know.
Besides listen to podcasts.
I know. Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah. So getting work and like trying to teach, we're figuring that out, but that's what I would do. I'd put it in between. I would travel during that time, and I would sleep the other. That's what I would do.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, that's a good point. Like, I was just thinking about time sucks. Like,
Mm-hmm.
driving is a time suck.
Yeah.
Like, you just, like, you
It's one
could,
of the biggest time sucks.
you could, like, the things I do while I'm driving on average would probably be listen to people, like podcasts and stuff like that, and call people, try and make phone calls. Like
My
most of the
brother
time-
does that. He does all his phone calls in the car.
like if I have a question for Colton, like instead of shooting him a text, I hate texting.
Yeah.
I hate texting anymore. But I'll just like call somebody and be like, "Hey, what do you think about da 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 da?" Or like, "I had a quick question for you." I mean, and it's hard because some people are in the middle of something and they can't really sit and talk for too long. But like, I hate like if I didn't have to drive anywhere, and eating is the other one. Like cooking and eating, like how much time a year do people spend on food?
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't know if Andrew's ever. I get like very hangry. I get those blood sugar issues. Like, and I will just like forget, to eat. But then if your blood sugar drops below a certain level, then I'm like, you can't be me. I'm just a monster. But yeah, it's like because I don't want to take the time. So yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, but like, yeah, that I mean, that's why meal prepping has been so beneficial for me. Is because like I don't have to think about it. My food's ready.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's just done. I just need to heat it up. Like if there was no, imagine a life where there's like no microwaves.
I'm still waiting for the Spy Kids little packet meals you put in the microwave and a
Bro,
full meal
right?
pops out.
looks like a popcorn bag.
Hell
Bro.
yeah. Still waiting for that.
Dude, I forgot about that.
Oh, it's the best.
Those are the best. I could picture it in my head. They're on the little boat thing. Oh, do you remember that? Did you watch Spy Kids?
Yes.
Yeah, you know
yes,
you know what he's
yes,
talking about?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Those things are fucking cool.
Full meal, burger, fries, drink, shake pops out.
Oh, dude.
Takes like 2 seconds.
I used to wish that like I like food. Don't get me wrong, but sometimes that is like inconvenient. I used to like. I'm like it's like 2020 whatever. Like why don't we have like a pill that you can just take and it has
Literally.
it's like a perfect meal. You know what I mean?
So
Which-
Cody, my best friend, said
Yeah.
that. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good.
Go ahead.
No, which
Cody.
I would say there's like shakes or whatever that I guess you could have, but
And meal replacement shakes aren't very good for you.
they're yeah. And they
not
taste
not to
terrible.
not for your only source of nutrition
Yeah.
because they're hella processed. But like Cody said that if they made a people dog food that you just take a scoop in the morning and a scoop at night, you know what I mean? Like Like you just like bought it in a 70-pound
Not have
bag.
to think about it.
You
just
went to the
eat it.
grocery store. You threw 2 of them in your fucking grocery cart. Drove out. And it,
Okay, so this is. I feel like this is gonna sound awful.
You're on a
and
podcast.
Politically incorrect.
Send it.
But I've always said if I were like very largely overweight, which I feel like my parents instilled like good habits, like whatever genetic. I know genetics are a big part of it. I'm just trying to like.
She's trying to preface it with,
I
I'm
don't
not
know.
mean.
I don't know everyone's experience. Is all I'm trying to say. And I only know what it's like to be me.
Jesus, Hannah,
But I'm
just
just
say
saying,
it.
if I were like
Get it out,
very
woman.
like at an unhealthy weight for me, I would go on a dog food diet. I don't mean dog food for people. I would eat dog food because if you're eating dog food, you're only gonna eat it if you are like starving. So not only would it be like, and it has like
Are
what
you
you
talking
need
wet or dry food?
dry.
Don't
Because-
actually eat dog food. Anybody, please.
Disclaimer, please
no,
don't.
Please don't eat
it's-
dog food.
It's fine though. You can.
You can't.
And-
Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
And I think it's also really good for your like hunger signals because you truly learn when you are truly hungry and truly not.
Yeah.
And
That's what strict diets. A lot of people do strict diets because it makes them realize that.
yes, exactly. Like, oh, I'm hungry. Okay, am I hungry enough to just eat some almonds? No, that
It's like,
must not
no,
be
I'm
that
hungry for pizza. I'm not hungry for the stuff that's on my
yeah,
diet.
exactly. And like part of being a human is enjoying food, but if my health were at stake, I would take a pause on enjoying food and I would go on a dog food diet. And like,
It's not my fault. I can't lose weight.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, you made a huge point that like I had to realize at one point. I'm like, oh, I think I always knew it. I never really thought about it much, but like when I did the carnivore diet for like for like a
wow.
month, like that shit was like to the point where I literally was like, okay, you can have eggs or meat. I mean, it was
Literally.
like that, or like fruit, and I'd be like, I don't want any of those things. I'm like, okay, then I'm not hungry enough yet.
yeah,
I need to go
but
back on that.
Sometimes your body, I truly believe that your body does ask for things that it needs.
You'll crave what you need.
Yeah.
Well, like, so when because Cody used to be, so I used to be overweight too. Cody used to be, Cody was like 260 plus or something, like 270 plus. And he was eating the same meal like every day of the week, twice a day. For so long that it literally, he was eating it like it was dog food. Like it was like,
Yeah.
this is energy, and he would just eat it. Like he didn't want to eat it. It was disgusting to him. After a certain period of time, when your taste buds get acclimated to it, like I don't know, I think he still doesn't eat green beans because of it, because he would have green beans like every single day. But like, I mean, you have to almost do that. But there's also a convenience of like
Yeah.
you just
Yeah.
eat chicken,
I
sweet
think
potatoes, green beans.
yeah, diet variety is good because that one meal may not have everything that you need, but yeah, I know. I think that's a good, and it takes away like the decision fatigue. Like,
Yeah.
what am I gonna eat? Whatever.
Like
but
doing carnivore, like I got to the point where like I would have eggs, sausage, and bacon for breakfast. I would have a steak for lunch and dinner, and I'm like, I don't want a fucking ribeye. Like I would
Wow.
look at it and I'm just like, I don't want to eat a ribeye today, and
Yeah.
that sounds horrible.
And
why,
like, because
why
I love
did you
steak.
guys do that?
Just try it.
Yeah, try it
Oh,
out. I
okay.
liked it.
Did you feel good?
I felt great.
I
I
did
lost like
not.
10 pounds
That's
within
why I
like
stopped.
2 weeks.
I lost
great.
10 pounds within 2 weeks, which is you realize
Yeah.
it's mostly just
It's
because
just
the
water weight
water
and
that
shit
you're
like that.
retaining from
Carbohydrates.
carbs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're basically not consuming carbs. I mean, you might eat fruit, but fruit doesn't work like a
No.
starchy carbohydrate does. But I lost 10 pounds in like 2 weeks, and
Felt great.
I did not feel good though. I was getting super tired after I'd eat
Yeah, I guess meat takes like a lot of energy. It
to
takes
digest.
longer. Yeah.
But not everybody has that effect. Like
Yeah, I felt
most people on
awesome.
carnivore, when they eat and they like have consistent energy levels throughout the day.
Yeah,
Like,
I think
my blood sugar
everyone's
is affected
different.
by it different. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm vegetarian, but
Are you really?
Yeah.
Oh, very cool. Like pescatarian or
I'm pescatarian now. There was like, it just makes it easier, and I think fish are plants. I don't eat all seafood.
fish or plants? I love that.
I don't eat
Plants
all
with
seafood.
eyeballs, yeah.
Like I won't eat like a squid because like
So
they're.
good. You don't like squid?
I like it. They're just like, they're too similar to people. They're so smart. Like,
Then why are we eating them if they're so smart?
because they only
If they
live
get caught by us, why are they so smart?
because they
I'm just-
only
I'm
live
kidding.
like 3 years. Otherwise, I think they would have like an advanced society. Like I'm not.
They are
even-
super intelligent. Though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
And, like-
you were the one I was talking about that with the other day. Because I remember something about like they can fit into a jar.
Oh my god,
That
we
was
were
you.
talking about.
I remember-
I get really passionate about smart animals because I'm like, I think we should
I
let
didn't realize
apes
that we were
vote.
talking about this the other day. We should what?
I think we should let apes vote.
We already do.
No, that was a hyperbole, but I do like they know exactly what's going on. Elephants know exactly what's going on.
Orcas.
Like yes, dolphin like I think a lot of
That makes us dumb.
what we can perceive is based on language because like if you don't have, and I've talked about this like in terms of child development, like if a kid, it's really, you know, detrimental if a kid doesn't have, you know, if they're having trouble speaking, whatever, it's like if they can't put the words to concepts, their brain can't think of the concepts. And I mean that again for everyone. So like language was like a huge part of our like development as humans. So animals, they have a different language for us. So I feel like we can't conceptualize like what they think
their
and
language.
vice versa.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's why we like. It's easy for us to think of like animals as like ignorant, like dolphins or stuff like that, because we can't understand their world.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make them. I mean, they're incredibly intelligent. They might be
Yeah.
more smart than we are. We just don't know.
And,
Like
yeah.
we judge intelligence based on like, do you build houses and
Yeah.
do you have like Teslas and cars
And think about all like the instinctual things that, and I'm not trying to say a bird is smart, okay, but like,
they might be.
yeah, but
We don't know.
think of all the instinctual things that animals know, and it's like if they were to have like a human thought, they'd be like, why do you not know this? Like, what's wrong with human? I mean, you know, I don't think it's like that, but I'm just saying like. We always think, I think, you know, humans in general should humble themselves. I don't think it's wrong to eat meat. I don't think that at all.
Yeah.
I think the scale and the way we do it is kind of like,
Yeah,
that's
factory
fucked.
farming is a whole other thing.
Yeah.
That's terrible. That's why a large part of why I like hunting is I feel like it is the most natural way to get your meat.
yeah, like someone asked me, like theoretically, if like someone hunted something, like I would eat it. But I've just been like vegetarian for like 11 years now. So it's just like,
Yeah.
I just don't eat. I feel like I would have tummy issues, but
Yeah,
Can I-
definitely.
I'm curious. So what made you start becoming a vegetarian?
I read like several books when I was like 15, and one of them was The Omnivore's Dilemma, another one was Fast Food Nation, and there was one other one, and it was like a summer, and I just like read them all, and I just like I couldn't look at
Meat the
food
same way.
meat the same, yeah, and I think that food has always just has been like, you know, I like food like everyone else, but it's also been like it's been fuel to me, you know, like, so I think if
I wish. for
yeah,
me. I've never had
if
that.
there's like meat and then there's like, oh, there's like some beans over here, like the beans are available and it doesn't, you know, there's no effect on there is an effect of everything on the environment, like when you're growing
at surface
food.
value, it's less.
Yes, like way less of if the plants are available and there's a large amount of them, like why would I? It felt like a waste, I guess, for me to like
Yeah.
eat the meat, but yeah.
Yeah. I was just always curious because like my perspective of like the vegetarian realm is there's a lot of women that are vegetarian. I didn't know what
I think about that a lot
causes
too. I think that I don't know. Well, Andrew was vegetarian for a little bit.
I was too. I was vegetarian for a week.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I literally was like, I am exhausted of vegetables right
Really?
now. Yeah,
Yeah.
within a week. Yeah.
I think he was for like a couple years, but yeah, it does seem that way. And part of it, I think, is just like we have this weird thing where it's like meat is manly. Like why? Who knows?
That's a good question. I don't know.
yeah.
Why. Well, I think it's back to the small tribes thing.
Yeah, like you kill and-
Typically,
yeah.
women raised the kids and picked berries and-
foraging.
yeah,
Mhm.
and then men went out and killed the meat, which is
Sure.
where like a large majority of the calories that we consumed back then were from animal fats.
Yeah. And then like, and there were a lot of societies where you only would get meat like once in a while, you
Yeah.
know, like not forever, obviously, depending on like your climate and where you were,
Yeah, yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. And I've tried, I don't know. And I think like a lot of time, you know, again, evolution, like I'm trying to clarify because like not all women are one way, not all men are
Yeah.
another way, but like I guess in an evolutionary aspect, like maybe, you know, women are traditionally more like sympathetic, empathetic, so you have like feelings in mind. I don't know, or like men have that logical where it's like, well, just because I stop eating meat won't change the situation, like that we are. I don't know. I don't know.
Because at first I think there was what was the real famous documentary that was converted a lot of people to being vegan. I forget what it was called, but it ended up being like fact checked and stuff like that. And it turns out most of the information was not true in the documentary, and that's
Yeah.
unfortunate too, because then you have this whole entire market that is devoted to. I mean, the health industry is one of the biggest industries to make money in. you just convince the right amount of dumb people the wrong information. I mean, that could be carnivore too. Like, I'm not gonna lie. When I tried the carnivore diet, it was like it was almost like I look at my body as like an experiment of like, I'm gonna try this and see how it goes.
Yeah.
It almost seemed like bro science at the time. Like, just eat meat.
Still
And
does to me.
they're
Still does
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that, I mean, that goes back to the same thing, you know, like data doesn't lie, but it doesn't tell the whole story, and you can manipulate it to like say whatever kind of narrative you want. And I think that like spending my brief time in like research, I think it just makes you very skeptical of everything, you know, but
Well, different food affects different people.
that's so true.
You know
yeah.
what I mean? Like, because your gut biome is it's a whole ecosystem in and of itself. And like, so my gut biome might be better at digesting certain things and less at digesting others.
Yeah.
And I feel better maybe running off of XYZ instead of ABC. You know what I mean? And too many people just, you know, they grow up eating a certain way and they die eating that same way. You know
Right.
what I mean?
That's what I think the main thing with like being a vegetarian. Like, I'm not going to tell anyone they shouldn't eat meat, which I'm never offended by it. Like, I'm like, I don't care what other people do. But it's also like, just maybe you don't have to have meat 3 times a day. You know what I mean? Just like think outside of like how food can be many different things and like maybe different than how you
Well,
Try everything.
Yeah.
So many people won't try new things.
Yeah.
Not just food, but like in general in life. But like it becomes the same thing. I like what I like. I don't want change.
Yeah.
Because change is hard.
Yeah, but the gut biome, like you mentioned, is like very interesting to me. I don't understand it, but
Nobody
like right
does.
now I'm on I'm on antibiotics for my jaw, whatever. And like I feel like when I'm on antibiotics, like I can't eat. It kills everything,
Rex,
and I have
I just
nothing.
got
I
off of
crave nothing.
antibiotics.
Yeah.
I just got off of them.
Do you experience that? Like nothing sounds good. Like you're hungry, but I'm like I can't think of what. So that I
out
don't
of
know.
nowhere, my stomach will like just turn upside down. Like
Really?
so like I know with females, like sometimes they just randomly get waves of nausea.
Yeah,
And,
I'm a
like-
nauseous girl.
Yeah, but like that's like,
It's a thing, yeah.
And a lot of girls get headaches too. That's like just is what it is.
Yeah.
But like so I don't get either of those things very regularly. So but when I get on antibiotics, I'll just get waves of nausea. I'll just be like sitting there and all of a sudden I'm like, oof, like
Yeah.
oof, yeah. That's my biggest thing with that. And then I feel like my digestion isn't what it is. But I also like take multiple things that have probiotics in it too. So I don't know how much
gotcha.
that does or doesn't help. I don't know. That's the problem with the internet is that you can find something to support what it is you
Whatever
want to
you
believe,
want. If
but
you
can also
search the
find
right
something
thing,
to refute it. Exactly.
If you
There's a
search the right thing.
positive and a negative study on everything.
You could
Yeah.
Google why is coffee good for you, and it's going to tell you why it's good for you. Why is coffee bad for you, and it's going to tell you why it's bad
Yeah.
for you. And it's like, well, what do I do
Yeah.
now? And it's just like,
Figure it out.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think but everything to a certain extent is probably bad for you.
Everything.
But I was having this conversation with Andrew. It's like some things, people, it's like if someone likes something, they will go to the end of the earth to like be like, oh
Defend
no,
it.
it's this, to try to defend it. And it's like, I wish some people would just be like, nah, this is my vice. You know what I mean? Like caffeine, like it has pros and cons. That's my vice. I don't care.
same.
I'm gonna drink it because it's nice. Like whatever.
My thing with caffeine, just to go off on that little tangent, is
Mm-hmm.
like I used to not drink any coffee before I started dating my wife.
Really?
And and that was just like what she did. And so that was her drug of choice, so I started taking her drug. And like before that I was like food was my biggest addiction. And that's probably why I was, over 280 pounds. But like I don't like feel like I'm tied to something.
Yeah.
As far as like I feel like especially like when I go hunting, that's when I realize it. Like if you don't have caffeine, you're gonna get a headache.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, well, I'll just always have caffeine. It's like, but what if you don't?
Yeah.
Like in an apocalypse, where are you gonna get coffee from? Where are you gonna get caffeine from?
Yeah.
If you don't have a stockpile of caffeine, you're gonna have to experience headaches until your body normalizes itself. I just don't like being addicted to things.
Yeah.
So, but
I had to detox
Coffee's-
off caffeine because I used to take pre-workout a lot, and I'd have like 4 scoops of pre-workout, drink a bang, and
Yeah.
That's a lot.
we used to work together, and he had caffeine pills at his desk.
yeah, literally, I would wake up, pop 2 caffeine pills.
That's a lot.
This is
Luckily,
like 4 a.m. and I'm like 2
that's-
caffeine pills. Scoop
you
of
ever had-
You're like, I'm
pre-workout.
ready to go.
Have you ever had your blood pressure tested?
Yeah, it's fun.
He's like, I'm great.
Hella surprising.
I drink half calf now. Coffee. I don't have full calf coffee very much.
We drink dark roast. So
yeah.
dark roast has less caffeine. I'm not gonna say it's
Yeah.
half calf, but
Plus, my
Yeah.
girlfriend, or my wife now, she's pregnant. So,
yeah.
yeah, I drink half calf now, so it's actually nice.
That's a time I'm actually not looking if I ever have a child and then you gotta
Have
get
to
off the
look
caffeine.
at it.
I actually have a very low tolerance, so like I can't finish a cup of coffee because I feel it. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, I like it, but I can't do very much.
I'll drink to the point of
honestly.
anxiety.
I can now have no caffeine to be fine.
Yeah.
because I'm just so used to it now. Like I gave up all of it. I was like, I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
I'm to the point when I go hunting. So okay, this isn't just me, but coffee makes people poop, and like
It's a normal bodily function.
sometimes
Smell it, and you're like,
I'll like be going to go do something, and I hadn't had my coffee yet, and I'm like, okay, I'm going here. and if
Will I
drink
have the
coffee-
opportunity?
Yeah, I'm like, as weird as it might sound, it might be a dude thing, and maybe other people do it. I don't know, but I have to like plan my shits.
Yes.
Like I won't
Yeah.
drink coffee at certain times because I know if I do, I'm going to have to shit, and that would be inconvenient for that time.
yes.
Yeah, there was a period where I was training for a marathon, and which it got canceled because of COVID, so it didn't happen.
Darn it.
but
That son
yeah,
of a bitch.
so I was doing all those like long miles. I'm like, for what? But anyways, they were really long runs, so I would have to like drink my coffee and then wait because you can't go before.
Yeah, it's like 2 hours before you go for a run after you
Yeah.
drink coffee.
Yeah.
That you're, because
Yeah.
I've learned the hard way. So my first 5K that I did, I literally, so it was at this big lake, and it was like a little bit over one lap around this big lake, and I remember this is like the first run I ever did. We were running every day after work. This run was first thing in the morning. And I always drink my coffee in the morning.
Switch it up. Yep. Oh no.
You can
Yeah.
probably sense where
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is going. I learned this one the hard way. I had nothing but caffeine. I had only had coffee. I was
Yeah.
dehydrated from the night before. Like you don't realize how much important hydration is.
Oh yeah.
On a 3 mile run, you can skate by. 3 miles is not that much. It was a lot for me at that time, but 3 miles and compared to a marathon's nothing. And so it's a 30-minute run for most people. And like I got there and I was still drinking my coffee, and I was like, oh my God, I have to like there's like a line for the bathrooms, and I'm like, oh my God. Like I
What
still
have I done?
vividly remember like my stomach being like
And
I'm
running,
like,
you
"Ugh."
can't. Running with that is the most terrible feeling. Yeah.
Especially if you run outside. Because if you run on a treadmill, like the bathroom doesn't move.
Oh yeah,
The
yeah.
bathroom
But
stays right over there in
no.
the
When you're
corner.
running, you're always on the lookout,
Dude, and that lake that we ran on, I did not know where the bathrooms were. Like I would plan those
Like
runs.
frantically looking around.
Colton ran there with me before. Like
Yeah.
like it would be like, okay, we're going to go meet at this
There's a
lake.
bathroom
Like,
there?
We have
Where? Oh,
off of the way. I'd have to. I've never been to it.
yeah.
I've never been to it. I planned my urination and my defecation around it. But no, like I literally got there and like I was like sick to myself. I had to run slower because I was worried.
Yeah.
Like, and it was just my stomach cramping at that point. Like there was like I couldn't empty my bowels anymore, and I was like never again. So
Yeah.
my next 5K that I did, like the actual like event 5K I did the exact same thing. First thing in the morning, drink caffeine. I was just dumb. But so what I've started doing, I realized that different caffeine, like coffee is the one that makes, like that's the caffeine that makes me have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
So do you know what Liquid IV is?
Yeah.
Like the hydration supplement. They make a caffeine one,
Oh,
and I
nice.
love to keep those. So like we'll get like a bag of those, and it'll last me like a year because I don't use them very often. But like if I know I'm gonna go for a run, I'll just grab one of those.
Grab one of those? Yeah, yeah.
Or if I need to be like out and about and away from like the comfort of my own bathrooms or like
That's
wherever I'm
smart.
going,
Yeah.
I'll take those. Especially when I go hunting, because
Yeah, because
Like-
you don't have access.
yeah, I could take cold brew coffee with me, but it's gonna do the same thing that regular
Yeah,
coffee does.
yeah.
and
Even more to me.
yeah, the cold stuff. Yeah. It makes everything just like yeah. But so I'll take a packet of those, and we always have cases of water whenever we go hunting.
Oh,
for,
you
like,
just pour it in there.
yeah, just
Nice.
like it makes it super convenient. I keep like 4 of them in my hunting bag, and then like now I have caffeine and I don't get a headache. But I hate having to remember that I have those, or having to
Yeah.
go to a gas station middle of the day to buy an energy drink because I didn't have caffeine. That's what I hate. I hate the.
It could be
being
worse though.
Reliant on it.
Yeah.
it's-
Could be
it sucks.
worse.
Could be something else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of
Could
people have
be-
nicotine, and nicotine's
Yeah.
expensive. I mean,
Yeah.
coffee is too, but you know.
Less so, I guess.
Yeah. Imagine I've never had a nicotine addiction, but I can like you see people that are just like they have to stop at the gas
Fiended.
station to get cigarettes or dip or whatever their vice
Vapes or
is.
all that. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's
I
just
don't-
imagine budgeting for that financially.
I know that's the thing. Like, yeah, it's anything. It's like I like money more than I like. I know we just talked about like money not being the center of.
I think
but
I think I like what money can do for me.
yes, yeah. I feel like the most thing because, again, I have this conversation with Andrew about like, it's not just like hoarding the money. It's like for me, I feel like it's like a game. Like, do you know what I mean?
Honestly,
And like,
Monopoly
you want
is
to
a
win.
game.
Yeah, you like want to win, but also it's just like the security that it brings is like, because in economics, like we talk about utility, and like there's certain numbers that you can assign to your utility, and I derive utility from security.
Can you
And money
can you
brings
explain
that.
a little bit more like clearly? Like, as far as like, what do you mean by utility?
Well, utility. Okay, so in econ they call them utils. A util is it's a certain unit, and you can, based on like whatever you're measuring, it can be a different. But like they use econometrics to assign like a certain like number amount, and again that varies based on what you're studying, whatever. But like, okay, like this is an example I share with people. Okay, so you can. Sometimes it is better to to be on like to take out a loan. Yeah, okay, like a mortgage. This is what I'm going. So some people be like, don't pay off your mortgage if you have a low interest rate, because that money that you would use to pay off your mortgage, you would invest, and that the percentage, your return would be higher than your interest rate on the house, right? So the best financial advice is don't pay off your mortgage early. It's dumb, because obviously when you buy your house, it's like worth much more later. So your money is the most valuable to you at that current moment, because it will obviously like be worth less later on. So you just invest that amount, and yeah. But some people receive utility from paying off their house. So like that's the whole thing with econ is like humans are, well, in econ we view them as rational human beings, but now there's like other sectors of economics where we know that humans are not rational human beings. So part of that is assigning utility to like feelings sometimes.
So
that makes sense.
Yeah. So
Does it?
so there's other factors too, like
Yeah.
that, like you said, like the rational human thing is a huge thing. So most people's most expensive thing they'll ever buy in their life is their house, right?
Yeah.
And the problem that the simple thing to say is, buy a house for as long of a mortgage with the lowest interest rate you can get, and don't pay extra on it, just make the minimum payment. And some people even do reverse mortgages, which is basically like my house is paid off, and now every time the bank pays me, they're taking a little bit more stake in the house. That's what reverse mortgages are.
Yeah.
So the problem that those things that they don't take into account is that if those people took that extra money that they were going to pay on their mortgage and invested it, most people don't do that. I would say,
Well, yes,
90
exactly.
plus % people don't do that. They take that
Spend
extra.
it.
They take that extra money and they upgrade their life.
Right. Or they feel that like even like decision fatigue, if you're like, oh my God, the money's just sitting there, and maybe you're not touching it, but it gives you like some kind of mental, like you lose utility from that because it's occupying mental space. So basically utility just measures what money cannot most of the time.
Yeah. And the biggest problem with money is like most people look at it and they see a number and they don't think about it past that. But that number is a tool.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
the problem is most people don't view money as a tool. Money, like the people will search to, like the people that seek out money primarily, that is their tool. Like that, but they don't realize it. They just want more of that tool. And it's like, okay, but for what?
Yeah.
And that's the hard part, is to get into the for what thing. Some people, they don't even budget. They just live paycheck to paycheck because they're like, this is what I have and this is what I can do and this is my limit. And it's like, no. You have to be disciplined and put a portion of it towards investments, a portion of it towards retirement, a portion of it towards debts and stuff like that. And then if you start to make more money, don't upgrade your lifestyle.
Yeah.
Or you should have limits. You know what I mean?
Right,
Most
right.
people don't have guidelines for their budgets and for their finances.
Yeah. And I remember you telling me that like you got into that because you felt like you were raised, the way you were raised, it was kind of the opposite. And so like you wanted to.
I had no financial teachings.
Yeah. So you like
Nothing.
delved
My
deep.
parents-
You could have gone like one or two ways, and you went the way like, no, I'm really going to get into this, which is nice. But I remember when I first got like, I started working, all my friends we all started working, I haven't been in the workforce for like that long, or, professionally. And, I got a good job. It was like, well paying for like new graduate, whatever. Right. But I just saw my friends were doing a lot, like more than me. Like they were buying a lot of things. And I was like, how is this possible? And I felt like I did all the right things, like whatever. And yet I'm like, I can't do those things, or I feel uncomfortable doing those things. How are they able to do this? And then I would find out little pieces, they would talk about like, oh, I only have this much in my account, or, oh, my grandpa bought me this, like whatever like, oh, we make the same amount, but you're buying all this stuff. People approach finances differently. And I realize that a lot of people are not as careful as I am, or a lot of other people are, or risk averse, and that was like an eye opener to not always just take people's, because to me, like, I wasn't necessarily jealous of their stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh, am I not good enough at my job that I don't make as much, because you just want to be good at what you do. And like, maybe they're valued more at their company, whatever. But seeing that, some people, they just don't really care about the future that much. I don't know.
I don't think that there's much thought into it.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Well, you also got to look at the norms of society. So like, people. So you ever heard the phrase that like you are the average of the 5 people you hang out with the most?
Yeah.
And I really believe that. And people will try and be around what they classify quote unquote as normal people, or what make them feel normal. And the normal thing in society is, like, if you look at what it is, it's to go heavily into debt in your 20s and then work on paying it off for the rest of your life, and then downgrading your lifestyle when you become retired.
Yeah.
Because you can't afford to live the lifestyle you maintained throughout your working years. And I despise that. I've watched a lot of my family retire, and that's why I've talked about this ad nauseum with this, but like, retirement to me is like, seems like a scam. It's a scam to keep middle class people middle class forever.
You mean like by how people don't save for retirement? What do you mean?
So what I mean by that is, like, people will work a job they hate for 30 to 40 years,
Yeah.
or a job that they don't absolutely love because it pays the bills that they have, that they've accumulated because of what's normalized by society.
Yeah.
And then when they retire, they think that like they're going to sail off into the sunset and live this life, and then they start going to, all their friends are dying, they have to go to funerals, or they're going to the doctor all the time because in order to enjoy their life during that miserable period of working 40 years at a job, they sought out comfort in food and television. And,
and now you're not
bodies.
even well enough to enjoy your life.
Right. So they just been, and I've watched family members and friends and stuff like that do that, and I was like, that's not what I want retirement to be.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be the Warren Buffett of, like, not health, but the Warren Buffett of like as crazy as this sounds, and to a lot of people this at surface value sounds crazy, it's like, I want to be the guy that like dies working.
Yeah.
But I want the thing that I'm working at to be something I love.
Yes. Yeah. Like,
So
I think I told you
yeah.
about my dad. Like, he recently retired from his, like, he was a dentist, and he recently retired, and he's working at Home Depot because that was his dream. Like, he loves woodworking. He loves making things, fixing things. And so he's like, I'm going to work at Home Depot when I retire, and I'm gonna know everything about that store. And he does, and they're like trying to make him the manager and stuff, and he's like, guys, like, stop. Like,
He's a doctor. That's hilarious.
he's like, you guys, I'm here to hang out. I don't want to be the manager. You know what I mean? Like, so they're trying to like promote him because he's just like so into it. But, and same with my mom. Like, I mean, she could be retired, but she still works because she knows she needs to. It's good and it's so good for your brain too.
Your body,
as you get older.
We are creatures of habits.
Yeah.
And too many people don't know that, and like, they want to just completely, like, you have done this thing from age, let's just say age 20 to age 60.
Yeah.
That's 40 years. So you've done this thing where you wake up Monday through Friday, go to your job, you come home, and then they think they can stop and that their body's going to be okay with it. It's like, no, your body has been in motion for 40 years doing this. Like, you need to supplement that with something else, or you need to like just enjoy what you're doing so you don't feel like you have to stop doing it.
Yes, the number one thing, I heard this on podcasts, so I can't cite my sources, but like but they said the number one thing to like retain your cognitive abilities is continuing to work into old age. Like, the longer you work, the better you retain your cognitive abilities. So if you don't use it, you lose it. You know?
Most people retire and die.
Yeah, that's why I keep telling my parents, 'cause I'm like, I don't want to take care. I don't want to take care of you guys. I don't want you guys to go senile. So please just like keep it up.
Do
you know? Yeah.
Like, start painting. Do something.
Yeah. Something. You
That's
gotta,
this, like, similar to how Andrew said that jiu-jitsu was like his retirement job.
Yeah.
That's what he wanted to do for retirement, and it's knocked on his
coming
door
true.
30 years before he, retirement age, quote unquote. If 59 and a half is what I consider retirement age, so 60. I just round up to 60. So like, this was my retirement job.
And you're doing it.
Yeah. So I was like, why the fuck am I gonna wait till I'm old and have less energy to do
I think
it?
of people always plan like, oh, when this happens, I'll do
One
this,
day I'll
but
do this.
Yeah. Tomorrow I will, and then tomorrow never comes.
Youth is wasted on the young.
Yep. That's funny.
Yeah, but
I
that's
like
something
that.
I've always admired about Andrew is he's like so unafraid to just do things.
I think a lot of part of it is growing up in chaos.
Yeah, like he had nothing to lose. I mean, I don't mean that, whatever, but yeah, yeah. Like I think I get nervous doing things right, and I really enjoy my life and I really enjoy my job, but I feel like I was constantly like, am I doing the right thing? But he will just try things. If they don't work out, they don't work out, and
You won't know unless you try.
Yeah, and I think everything's a balance, but I think we're good for each other in that way. So I'm thinking.
But no, like, I mean, same thing. Most people show up for this to do the podcast and they're nervous, but these are the same people that would like talk to me about like octopus at, you know what I mean? Like how they're like, or squid are cool or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Octopi, I believe.
Whatever. Octopuses or whatever. Octopi, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not good with the languages, but like, you know what I mean? Like, it's those people, everyone who normally shows up for the podcast, I ask them to do the podcast because it's been easy for me to talk to them already.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, like, it's putting the microphones in the camera in front of them and being like, hey, other people can listen to this. All of a sudden they're just like, oh shit. But that's why my favorite part of every podcast is like the second half. That's typically when the best shit comes out.
They get comfy.
A couple
Yeah.
hours in,
You
you
like-
loosen up a little bit.
Yeah. And for me and Colton, this is easy now
Yeah.
because we've been doing it for so long.
The first
It's
ones
just-
were weird though.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. But I mean, the only way to get through them is to get through them. And
But you're good at talking to people. Like you can think of things to say. Like,
it's a problem. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe it's not. Maybe it'll make money one day. I don't know. That'd be crazy. But so many people are just scared to try new things because they're worried. I'm not a person who doesn't have that. Like I get scared anytime I do something new, but I'm just okay with being scared, I guess.
yeah, I think that's like the main thing. I don't think it matters if you're scared as long as you just do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, you just show up and you be like, listen, I trust myself enough to where it's like, I'll be okay. I'm going to make it through this. What's the worst that can happen?
Yeah. I actually recently, like, I don't know, I'm super interested in like, just like how to make super children.
So CRISPR?
Yeah. I want to do like experiments on my children, but nothing that would like harm them. Just like what's going to happen if I like, you know, whatever. But like part of it is that I've been
glaze
thinking
over that, Hannah. You got to talk more about that.
But like part of it is how that I've been thinking a lot about recently is how do you make children that trust themselves? You know, like they try things because they trust that they in themselves that they will be okay. And it doesn't matter what someone else is doing. You know, it doesn't matter if someone else is there to catch them. It's just yeah. And I think
To
when they're
trust in their
young, they
abilities.
have to trust you because you are part of their self, sort of, like very little. But then as they grow up, you know, because I think creating, you know, not fearless, but very little fear. That's how you make like great humans.
Yeah.
People who just like, you know, dare to do those like dangerous things.
Yeah. That's a good point. And I've thought about it too, just in different terms. But like basically, you have to allow your kids to fail.
Yeah.
Like you have to create. I mean, essentially, that's what you're doing when kids learn is you're trying to create a safe environment for them to fail.
Exactly. And then I think you help them fix it.
Yeah.
And I think luckily, like, you know, I didn't do anything growing up like too crazy, but I do feel like the times where I did mess up, like I got in big trouble. Like my parents had high standards for us, but then my mom would always be like, okay, so now you're gonna do X, Y, and Z. We're going to figure out how to fix it. Like she was there to like help guide me and it just helped me figure it out. You know what I mean? And I think that's
Another thing too is, I mean, this is hard as a parent for people to do is to just, I mean, you have to be a good parent to raise good kids. You know what I mean? That's a hard thing.
No,
in and
it
of
is.
itself.
Yeah.
But like, like, have you ever seen like a movie or something like that where like a kid doesn't do something well and the parent like kneels down next to him and go, listen, I'm not mad that you didn't do well at this. I'm
Yeah.
mad that you didn't try to do well at this.
Yeah. Mhm.
That's what I'm mad about. And I want to instill, when I do have kids, I want to instill in them like, I'm not going to be mad that you failed at something. I'm going to
Yeah.
be mad that you didn't try to do
Right.
well at it. You didn't give it any effort, because effort is the one thing that's what makes capitalism work. Is
Yeah.
effort and the lack of equality because of the lack of effort. And you got to teach your kids that like the more focus you give something, the better you're going to be at it. Like Michael Jordan is Michael Jordan at basketball because he gave basketball so much attention in his life.
Yes. Yeah. Like as much as, you know, some stuff is innate, but a lot of it, most of it is hard work. And if you work hard at something, like you eventually see the fruits of, you know, your label. And I just remember my parents being like, you know, even if we just tried something, like it was just like, aren't you proud of yourself? You know? And I think, you know, that self-preservation is important in kids.
Yeah.
And when I said I didn't fail very often, I mean like I didn't mess up big time. You know, like I wasn't like going to jail or anything. I failed at plenty of things in life, you know. But I'm just saying, yeah.
What would be a good example of what you're saying? Like something that like your parents were like, "Hey, you didn't do this well," and you learned from it.
So I think this is a very like basic case a lot of people could speak to, but school was always kind of like my thing, you know. Like I was good at it. I had like full scholarships like to college, which was great because Oklahoma really reward if you do well on standardized testing, like they really reward you for it, which is great. And so I went to the University of Oklahoma, and my freshman year was hard. I was playing like a D1 sport, and then I was allergic to my dorm room. It had like some mold. So I had chronic.
Typical for Oklahoma.
Yeah, so I had like chronic bronchitis, but I'm also competing in a D1 sport. So I'm waking up at 4 a.m. to like go row. And
that's right. You were. I was trying to remember what sport you're in.
Yeah, rowing.
Okay.
And I can't breathe. Like I have a fever all the time. The doctor is prescribing me codeine. She's like, just take it. And I'm like, no. like I have to, like, I have so many jobs to do and like whatever. And, you know, I think when school is easy for you in high school, which it is for a lot of people, when you get to college, you're like, there are some things that were easy, but it's just like, you don't know how to study because you never had to in your whole life,
Yep.
you know? And I think a lot of things like came a little more naturally, and that carried over to some classes didn't, but I got a D in a class because so we were traveling that year. They traveled more than any other year, like with the rowing team. So I was traveling like Wednesday through Sunday. I was at school like 2 days a week. And, you know, I think that sometimes like athletes get there. First of all, in rowing, like everyone's a perfectionist. Like all those girls are like very academically capable. I was not like, you know, but freshman year is like, it's just, you're acclimating a lot. So I was sick all the time. I wasn't sleeping. Like I was missing school like 3 out of the 5 days a week. It was just like a lot. And so I did not do well in a class. And obviously I only had 2 semesters because I had done very well fall semester. I had done very well except for this one class in like spring semester. And so it dropped my GPA. I had to keep like a very high GPA to keep my scholarship. And it dropped it like right below. And so I used to do this thing. If I got yelled at, I would literally like black out, like pass out basically. Like I couldn't see. Like I would just like I hated getting in trouble. Yeah. And so like I realized that my grade point like went below, and I was like, oh my God, like I can't go to school anymore. Like I don't have the money, like whatever. And so just like absolutely freaking out. And my mom was mad. She's like, you're fully capable. And I was like, you know.
They're not mad about the grade. They're mad that you allowed it to happen.
Yeah. They're like, you were smart. Like, you know, whatever. Did you ask for help? Like blah, blah, blah. You know, like you never told us that you were doing whatever. And so I, you know, after I got yelled at and felt like my life was literally ending, I remember she was like, okay. She was like, well, whatever. Like, let's figure out. She's like, okay. So she's like, go find your scholarship papers. Like I kept them in a certain spot. And so we pull them out. We like read the terms because they all have terms. We go through the terms. It doesn't really say anything. It's just like, you have to keep this certain. So it has a number. It's like for questions, call, blah, blah. And this was back when I received like my senior year of high school. So like we call and she's like, okay, so she's like, oh yeah, like this happens all the time. Like you will have a semester of probation, you know, just make sure you get your grades up that semester and you keep your scholarship for that semester going forward. Everything's fine. And it was like, you know, and it's like all I had to do was like call that lady, but in my head it was all over. But you know, and I did get in trouble, but it was in like everything's gonna be fine. But my mom was like, okay, let's set up a plan so that you know, because they're not checking your grade. You're an adult, like whatever. But it's like, how are you gonna make sure that you don't fall behind like that? You know, like she made me verbalize.
Yeah, and she made you experience that pain. Well,
yeah,
I guess
and I don't think I ever got anything below an A after that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had like a 3.
You experienced, yeah, you had to experience the pain of not getting what you're supposed to not have that happen again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I, you know, that's nothing crazy happened to me. Like even if I did lose it, like I still probably would have been fine. But to me, that was horrible.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. The grade thing is yeah.
So I think, and then again, it's like as when you have a parent, just knowing that like my mom probably doesn't even remember that incident, but just knowing like everything you do, but that like literally when I have an issue, I literally revert back to that instance. Like it was okay. And I fixed it and I was able to work myself back. Like I don't know, just knowing that your children, like, they fall back on what you teach them. Like, they might remember one specific incident. That's kind of like crazy to me.
I guess my biggest parallel to that. So when I was getting my real estate license, I didn't realize that the course that I had bought, an online course, was for 6 months. I thought it was for a year.
Oh.
And I was dragging my ass on it because I struggle. So I can be really good in school.
Yeah.
I've been a straight A student before, but I'm like, wow, the amount of effort that takes, and it's not really worth it just getting a piece of paper saying you made principles on.
I fully understand that. Yeah.
So I started when I achieved straight A's, and I was like, wow, I can dial it back 30%, and I can still pass.
Do well, yeah.
And like that doesn't make me dumb for getting a C in a subject. It means that I just did the amount that I needed to pass.
You maximize your utility.
I was efficient.
Yes.
Yeah. So I started to become more of a C student in subjects that I didn't give a shit about.
Yeah.
And then the subjects that I was really good at math. Like I was always an A student in math.
Right.
Which, it just made sense to me. I actually gave a shit about doing well in it.
Right.
But then like science and language arts, I'd be like, I know how to talk. Like, what do I need to learn this?
Yeah, you're like,
shit
who
for?
cares? Yeah, no.
Yeah, it's octopi or octopuses or whatever. Like, I didn't care. I was like, you know what I'm saying, bitch, shut up. But that was my thought. And but like, so when I was taking my real estate stuff, it's all a lot of legal terms, and like you read it, you can read a sentence 3 times and still not know what it means. Yeah, and that shit it's hard for me to read a book or anything that I'm not interested in, let alone can't understand. So I zone out. I'm pretty easy at zoning out too, and unless it's something I like. Well, it made it super hard to be disciplined because I didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
And so some people will take the real estate license or get the real estate license in 2 weeks. Like there's classes where you do 2 weeks straight, like a normal job, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and you have your real estate license at the end of the 2 weeks. Me going at a self-guided class, doing it by myself at my own pace, made me drag ass. And so because I was dragging ass on it, like literally I remember I was like, okay, I really just need to get this done because it affected the podcast, which I hold near dear to me, this podcast. And that spare time that I was using to edit videos, you can ask Colton, I was doing it all the time. That's all I was doing, outside of like working out, the other things that I hold dear. And I like forfeited the podcast clip editing and stuff like that I loved to do my real estate stuff, which I hated. And at least the class. And I was like, as soon as I get this done with, I can go back to doing that thing that I enjoyed. And I was like, I need to pedal through this and just fucking nose to the grindstone. Well, I remember logging in on one of those towards the end of the 6 months when I was like nose to the grindstone kind of attitude. And I remember like I logged in and it was like your session has expired. And I had that same like when your grade went under the thing, I was like, oh no. And like the course cost like $200. And I was worried I was going to have to buy the course again. But $200, knowing that I am the reason that I wasted the $200, pisses me off. Right. Because it was like $250, I think. And that would be like, wow, I spent $500 on something that should have only been $250. Like, if you hear that, like, nothing is going to make a person more mad than like overspending on something because of your own self. Bro, I was so mad. And
so you had to repay it, yeah? No?
It was similar thing to you. I did the old-fashioned thing, and I like called the guy up. Yeah. Or I called the people up, and I was like, hey, I'm so sorry. Like, this was completely my fault. I thought it was a year. It turns out it's 6 months. I didn't know. And he was, okay, yeah, I'll extend it for a month for you for free. Just so you know, if you don't finish it within the month. And I was like, I think it was like right at halfway through. It took me 6 months to get halfway through.
To do so much
He's like, I'm giving you 30 more days, bitch. That's how it felt on the phone. He's like, and after that, you have to pay for it. And I'm like, and it was like $20 for an extra month. And I was like, fuck that. I'm not paying $20.
In the 1 month.
All of a sudden I had a deadline and I became like somebody who was training for a marathon that was already scheduled. You know what I mean? Like I was like, I like, time is finite now. Yeah. Like I have to finish it this month. Finished it in a month.
Boom.
The second half of it was done in a month. Got my real estate license now.
Wow. I didn't know you had that.
Yeah. Passed it first try, which is abnormal too.
Yeah.
But I knew when I scheduled my test. So when you finish, you have to finish the course. I finished the course and I passed the test on that. And they're like, cool, here's your certificate of completion for saying you have the required 60, that's called a 63-hour course. Okay. And I was like, here's your completion for that. I was like, all right, cool. Now you have to schedule the state exam and pass the state exam to get the license. Okay. So I just didn't schedule, it was like I want to say it was like 2 weeks or a month or something like that I went and I was like, haphazardly studying for it, like not
Yeah.
really studying for it. But I also hadn't scheduled my exam yet too, and I was like, oh, I've got time.
Right.
And I was like, wait, I need to do this as close to when I learn the material to make the
Yeah,
test
so you don't
easier
forget.
for me.
Yeah.
So I called and I scheduled it for like a month out. And when I had that finite date of like, I think it was like May 9th or whatever the date was.
Yeah.
Like when that comes, like I'm
You gotta
taking the
know your
test that
stuff,
day.
yeah.
I have to know my shit. And I started studying like a fiend. Like driving to jiu-jitsu, Daniela would like read flashcards to me for real estate. And then like,
So it was like recently that you got that.
yeah, last month.
Nice.
Yeah. And I
Congratulations.
literally, thank you. But I got on my lunch breaks in the evening times, like any free time I had, I was trying to just like read shit and like focus on the things that I didn't
Yeah.
that I wasn't good at, or take practice questions, read shit, and just be like, okay, like this is what I'm going to consume. This is the content I'm going to consume so I can be good at it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all that time would have. That's a big thing I always tell people. It's like the time is going to pass. Like that time would have passed, and you could have not gotten your real estate license, but you did it just with like all that extra little time you had.
So I think goals are important because
Yeah.
goals have like a timeline.
Mhm.
Like what is Dave Ramsey says it. I forget what it's called, but it's not his quote either. I just know it from him. Something to do with like a goal without time on it is just a wish,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like you're just gonna wish for shit.
Yeah,
Or
you
you're
wanna
gonna
do
try.
stuff.
Yeah.
That's what in the new year, like I'm big on writing stuff down because that you want to do, because if you don't do it, it makes you feel worse.
Yeah. If
I
you don't
told
write,
it-
I'm
even
a
just
piece
not,
of shit.
even just
Yeah.
even just not writing it down makes you feel bad.
Yeah.
Because you're like, I'm just gonna forget this in 2 days.
Yeah, and if you, yeah, I don't know, like, and if it's just like in your head, it's like if you don't do it, it's like, oh yeah, I want to do that someday. But if you wrote it down, like I want to complete this like this year in the next 6 months, it's like, okay, you didn't do it. Why? You
Yep.
know, and it's like, yeah,
I feel like you should, and they have to be obtainable.
Mhm.
Nick, when he came on the podcast, mentioned like he did like a whole breakdown of what a goal is and what makes it a goal and stuff like that. And it was actually like I had never heard it in the terms that he put it in. It was actually really really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And if anyone listening wants to hear that, it's Nick Myers. But yeah, I think that like setting it, because so many people like I should probably do that more with the podcast too. Like have goals for the podcast, goals for my jujitsu, goals for my every aspect of my life, and that is something I fail on and I need to be better at.
Yeah. I've even seen like when I would row, like, okay, we would have like 2K tests where it's like how fast you can row a 2K, right?
2 kilometers, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so you have certain goal, like some people would just like wing it and I'm just gonna go as fast as I can, but you think you're going as fast as you can, but you're not really, So I would make these like on cards. I would put a time that I wanted and like the split, because you have a split of what you get every 500 meters, and that adds up to your total time, right? So either the total time or the split, I would write on a card and I would put them everywhere. So it's like I would see it all the time.
Become that time.
Literally, like,
Yeah.
and maybe that's stupid, but like
It makes sense.
so when you're doing the test, you're like, you can't, maybe you're 2 seconds slower, and because the way the erg works, you can see where you're gonna end, like the number based on your split, and so it's like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna finish 2 seconds slower. If you didn't have that time, you'd be like, oh, this is a good time, because
Yeah.
it's faster than my last one, whatever. But it's like, no,
I'm
like
failing.
I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna see all those cards that I wrote everywhere. They're in my textbooks, like.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
every card reminds you of how you didn't 2 seconds, and to lose by 2 seconds too. Like
Yeah, that's
you think about it, it's
awful.
like, oh, there it goes.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah,
Right
that was
there.
it. It's
Yeah.
gone. It's
Yeah.
gone. Yeah. And
Yep.
yeah. So I don't know.
It's like if I would have just given a little bit more effort to it, it makes you realize that people that are high performers in work, in life in general, are people who try to operate like machines, but in order to do that, they have to be incredibly methodical.
Yeah.
Like people who break, like I've been fascinated by do you know who Cameron Haynes is? He's like
No,
an
I don't
ultra
think so.
marathon runner, a hunter, and stuff like that. Well,
Okay.
one of his sons is trying to get a. Do you follow him? No. One of his sons is trying to. He once had a world record for pull-ups, and he wants to break the new world record.
Mm-hmm.
And like just watching like everything down to the point of like the health of his hands, and like you have to go, okay, here's my timeline in
Yeah.
the day to do this, here's my like prep schedule. It's like running a marathon, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like you have to be like, okay, this is how many miles I have to run, I have to build myself up to that, and like all of these things, and like you just become so methodical about it.
Mhm.
And you're like, okay, I know my marathon starts at this time, so I need to get as many runs in around that time, because your energy levels change throughout the
Right,
day.
right.
If you only run in the evening time and you do a morning run, like you're not gonna be running at that same
Yeah.
pace. And like
Yeah.
same thing with like sports and your goals and stuff like that. You have to be very clearly defined at like, here's the like average of what I do now. Like I think one of the things I do that I think is really important is I track my runs. Like speeds and stuff like that. I don't just go, oh, I'm gonna go run 4 laps. It's like no. I need to, like, I specifically use a run tracker. When I was wearing my Whoop too, I was like tracking like how many calories I was burning, what my heart rate was, like all of these like different metrics, because it's like, have you ever heard the quote, anything that can be measured can be improved? I mean, and that's really what it is with athletes too. Like, you know, that's quite literally why there's scores for most things. So, and times for endurance stuff, but. Yeah, that's the only way you can get better at it. Imagine, like, you know, you give everything you have, and then you get to the end of it, and you're like, wow, if I would have tried just a hair
I
long.
had a little more. Yeah.
Like I left something on the table. That sucks. Like, that's one thing I had to learn. So when I was like super overweight, I couldn't run at all, and like, or maybe for like 10 seconds, and I remember. The thing that, so when Cody lost weight first, my best friend, when he lost weight first, like he was running all the time at that point. And I was like, he used to be fat. Like, how did he not be fat anymore? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you just don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And he was like, hey, like the mentality you need to have is if you're still alive, you can run.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, you can pass out, throw up, or die. There's the only things that can happen to you if you run if you stretch yourself too hard, that's what's gonna happen. You'll either pass out, throw up, or die. He's like, and really the only one you have to worry about is throwing up. It's like, I mean, most of the time you just throw up and feel better.
Yeah,
you know
and you're fine. Yeah.
So he's like, don't push through. And that mental like barrier of like I feel like I'm at the end of what my body is able to do. Like most people don't even get close to that.
They don't know what that feels like. Yeah.
Like I listen to a lot of like ultra marathon runners, and that's something they talk about is like people don't realize how much they can really do. When you hear that somebody ran, like do you know who David Goggins is? When he talks about like when he first signed up for an ultra marathon, it was like 100, it was 50 miles, and he thought it was a stage race where you'd like run a certain amount, stop, like hang out, and then start up the next day at the same spot. And then he realized it was like consistent. He's like, fuck, people just do that. Yeah, that's crazy.
Right.
And like.
The human body is like capable of a lot of things.
Can do a lot of things.
Yeah.
Most people don't even get to the end of it though. Most people don't even get halfway to what their body is capable of.
Something I learned about like how I experience pain. So I ran cross country in high school, like just for fun. Like I'm not a super crazy runner or anything. It was literally just for fun. And our coach would he would push this kid who was in like special education in one of those like running strollers. The kid had cerebral palsy, and so obviously he could not run.
Right.
And but he would just have like the best time, like with our, because you're going over like terrain, because it's cross country, so we're always on like a smooth path. Like, and the coach he's running fast, and that's faster than that kid has ever gone in like the stroller. And he's like, you can hear him like laughing the whole time. And I remember before one race, like, and sometimes our coach would like push it. He would race the kid, but stay behind everyone else. Cause you know, if you're like, this kid won, but you're like, really, it's your coach. Yeah. But, anyways, he just started talking about how a lot of people would give anything to feel the pain that you're feeling when you run. Like, it's not, there's pain that means something bad, but then there's like this good pain. It's like, it just means that you're feeling. So I like altered my thinking to like, pain just means that you can feel things. And like, what a great thing to be able to feel that and be in tune with your body. And I don't know. I would just think that, and the people who never take advantage of that, and maybe it's because they just don't know like how great it can
it's
be.
Scary to start. I mean, that's why I really wanted that quote, the you don't have to be great to start, but you do have to start to be great. That's why I wanted to hang up, because like so many people, the what are they, the martial arts equivalent of that is the hardest belt to get to your white belt. Yeah. Because so many people just won't start. They'll just live that life of like, well, maybe one day. Yeah.
You don't know how many, like me and Andrew will be talking to someone and they're like, I'm going to start working out before I go to jiu-jitsu, or I'm going to lose some weight before. And it's like, just go.
I did the same shit.
Yeah. And there's ginormous people in jiu-jitsu. There's skinny people. There's everything,
Oh, dude, I've seen competitions of like dudes where I'm like, how have you been doing jiu-jitsu this long?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
You're just like laying on top of people. Yeah. Like, that's, I understand. Maybe he should lose some weight too. But I was the same way. So like, COVID caused me to stop lifting at the rate that I was. So I started, I think it was 2018 or 2019 when I started like to lose weight. And I was like on a pretty good path. I went from like 280 to like 206 was like right at the beginning of COVID. That was the lowest I'd ever been in my adult life. And a lot of it was running, but still a lot of it was still lifting weights. But I stopped lifting weights at the point I was. So I felt like I wasn't as strong. I was becoming more of an endurance athlete at that point.
I see.
And I was so worried about being overpowered by somebody that I was like, oh, I want to, like, before I start jiu-jitsu, because like I had been saying for years that I wanted to do a martial art.
Yeah.
Because like when I was a kid, I did karate, and I got to be a brown belt, which is right before black, and that's when I stopped. And I was like to be that close to the end of something and then to give up, like, pissed me off.
Yeah.
But I was a kid and I didn't know any better. My brother stopped going. I looked up to my brother.
Like, whatever.
Yeah. So I always knew I wanted to do some kind of martial art because the confidence that you get from it, but like the calmness that you get from it, that's the hard part. That's the other side of that coin that most people realize. You're like, you never see hardly ever do you see a black belt in something that's like starting altercations.
Yeah, it's the gentle art, but also just knowing that like you're gonna be fine.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Like that super. It's like I do this every day. Like,
Yeah.
I'm so comfortable because I do this every day. And like that. So I really wanted to be a black belt in something. That was one of the things on my bucket list. Whether it was freaking Aikido, I didn't care.
Yeah.
But I wanted to be a black belt in something, and I was like, oh, I'll sign up for jiu-jitsu, but like, I want to go get strong first before I do it, or lift weights and stuff like that. And then I remember my wife came home one day and she was like, oh, hey, I signed you up for free jiu-jitsu class that's happening. Like the guy who I've been training with at Crunch.
Yeah, I
like,
remember.
Yeah, he's like he's starting a jiu-jitsu thing, and I signed you up for it. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, and then I remember the day of the first class, I was like, all right, hey, you ready to go with me tonight? She's like, no, I just signed you up for it. I'm like, you signed me up. This, like, do you not understand? Like, this is two people. Like,
I think
I've watched
that's really
fights at
funny
that
of
point.
her that she was just like, yeah.
Yeah, she's like, I'm tired of hearing this motherfucker talk about it.
Yeah.
Be about it, bitch. Yeah, like, and just like wrote my name down on the list, I guess. But
But now she loves it too.
well, I guess she didn't realize what jiu-jitsu was to a certain
Yeah.
point. She just knew that I wanted to do it, and I was like, this is like a 2 people thing. She thought it was just going to be a bunch of dudes. And that first class, were you there for that first class that Andrew did?
I can't remember.
There were so many girls there that I don't remember.
Oh, it's his class is like largely women, which is so weird for jiu-jitsu. I would always make
unusual.
fun of him. Yeah, and I'm
Yeah.
like, it's because you're handsome.
Yeah.
I'm joking. But
Dang, yeah, you ugly bitch. No, I'm just kidding. If he's listening. No. But no, there was like so many women there, and I came home and told her, she's like, "What? You were
She's
doing?
like, I
You were
wanna
rolling
go."
on the ground? Wait,
Yeah.
where'd that bitch put you?
She's
That
like-
bitch put you between her legs? No, fuck that." And I was like, "No, you don't understand. She was choking me." And she's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, well, no, fuck that."
Yeah.
And
She's like, "I'm
and then she like
gonna
went to the
choke
next
this out."
class, and then ever since then, been
Yeah, there you
completely
go.
different. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what made me start. If she had not signed me up, I probably would still not have been started. I said that. That's a weird way to say that. Have
I
been
get- I-
started. I would not have
uh-huh,
started.
right.
I would still be looking for a reason to like start later, and I'm like thankful that she did. Like I'm tempted to just call Colton one day and be like, "Hey, I signed you up for Wednesday's class, so they're expecting you." You know what I mean? Like,
sometimes you need that push. You
I've
know?
thought about it. I probably won't do it. I want you to make that decision yourself because I think that's important. But
I will. Gotta get to the kid first.
that's only gonna make it harder, bro. You know it just as well as I do. But regardless, like the starting was the hard part, and if Daniela had not made me start, I would still be waiting around to start. And the same
Yeah.
thing with the podcast. Like it was easy to hang out with my friends and record it. The hard part was like doing the rest of the stuff that's not normal for hanging out with your friends, like such as recording it and posting it. Recording
Yeah.
it was like, you just hit the little red button and it starts recording. You know what I
Right.
mean? And
Well,
then-
like even us, like we probably wouldn't hang out by ourselves.
like
but like here we are. Yeah.
legitimately.
Uh-huh.
Like that's it. I always say this is the perfect like excuse to sit down and just talk with people undistracted by other things.
Yeah.
And like especially when Colton's here and we can like Google shit. Like how tall Young Gravy is. You know. What
Yeah,
I mean?
that's
Like,
important.
I
You
think
have
it's
to have
cool.
a fact checker.
I think it's cool.
Yeah.
Not even. We don't.
I've
half
been
the stuff we
quoting
just-
stuff, and you haven't been. I'm
Yeah.
kidding. I'm
No,
kidding.
We don't have to fact check it. Listen, this is the world is your oyster. You know what I
I
mean?
just say stuff,
yeah, I do too.
and you'd
I
be
say
like,
that.
"Wow."
It's all true.
Yeah,
Everything.
I like to say the wrong thing confidently all the time.
Mhm.
You know.
As long as you're confident.
Yeah, really, 100%.
Yeah. I feel like I say the right thing, not confidently all the time, but yeah.
Yeah. Hardest part starting, especially with physical performance, because so many people just don't get educated on it. I think our school system is fucked. I think our school system is wrong for like K through 12.
I agree, but in what way do you mean?
What I mean is, I would say up to 5th grade, it's probably pretty good information. Once you get into middle school
Good
is
to
where it
know.
starts to go for a tailspin, in my opinion. But I also only know the school system for Florida when I grew up here. So much of what I
Which
learned,
in the grand as far as the U.S. goes, like they have a pretty good public school system.
compared to most of the world, but not all of the world. I think that I've not to gloat, but I always was like in advanced classes.
Yeah.
And so in advanced classes, they teach you like a lot of shit that if you're not interested in, it's like just because I tested highly, I have to learn extra shit like to challenge myself, which I'm glad, I guess. But like I learned a bunch of shit pretty much from like 7th grade on that was not necessary for like life, and like stuff that like you lose it because you don't use it. And I'm like, why was I so focused on learning just shit that some, like, I think as a percentage of like, if you look at it as 100% of kids go through this class, it's like what percent of them actually end up using it as adults? Maybe 2%.
That's true, but I think the main thing, it changes how your, like the synapses in your brain, like how your brain is, because that, especially at a young age, like your brain is so malleable, especially at a young age, and like how you think is just like largely structured on what you do day to day. And I mean, like you liked math, right? Like a lot of people be like, I won't ever use math, but it's
Fuck math.
I liked math
I
too,
did.
but it's problem solving. I mean, I think you hear that a lot. It's how do I get around like this problem? It's logical and methodical thinking. You know, if you have a math problem, not everyone is going to be solved the same way, but you might take similar steps.
Yeah.
And that's important to apply to a lot of things. I think that we should, especially math, I think we should teach it in a different way because it's so uninteresting. Yeah.
Math is the problem is that it gets to the point where it's like the math gets so advanced where it's like the likelihood that you're going to need this is like, I think after like 6th, 7th grade, I think, you know, being able to solve for X
Do
to a
you
certain
think
point
that
is
we
great.
should do like other countries and like do tracks? Because like I needed my math, right? Like in econ, you have to do like through Calc 4, like whatever.
I think my personal opinion of it is that they should, something that everybody has to do after they turn 18 and go live on their own. That's the stuff that should be being taught in high school, is like transitioning people from school into becoming adults. If you make it to where people are really good adults, they can focus. Like if it's second nature,
If some things are automatic, then you can focus on other things.
right?
Sure.
Because like how many people don't know how to change the oil in their car, or they don't know like how things work basically in a house, or like how to cook. I mean, so many people get sick from food.
Yeah, but if you're good at problem solving, then you can figure it out.
Right, but they also don't teach problem solving anymore. Either.
That's my point. The way that they teach things, like that's the goal, but the way that they teach it is not. Like I think a lot of math should be like sort of like statistics should be more heavily utilized because that's used in like especially today. Like it's so heavily used, and I don't know. It should be geared more towards application because there is ways to use complicated math.
Yeah.
Obviously, in high school, you're not doing like super complicated math. Like
I was doing some pretty fucking crazy shit, like the graphing stuff that you used to have to do.
Well,
and
right, yeah. I
bullshit.
don't know
Like,
how. Yeah,
Proofing for me was the worst.
proof. Yeah,
I hate proofing.
that was
I don't even
That
remember
was
what
the
that is.
bane of my existence.
What is it?
I don't like proofs either. It's basically like showing why
You have
things
to
are true.
write
yeah.
out every step of what you're doing and all that. I was like, here's
Yeah.
the answer.
Oh,
but why did you get there? No.
And that's a big
show
part
the show
of,
your work stuff.
Yeah, and that's a big
yeah.
part of like a econ PhD. You have to prove like why we know things. And
Well, that's how you find
yeah.
errors.
Yes,
That's how you find
that's
errors.
true. Yeah,
You can see,
So,
I did 7 + 5 here, but I should have done
Yeah.
7 + 8.
But like proofing also it uses like some theory too.
Yeah.
But anyways,
My methodical ass loved that shit.
yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I
Hated
loved
it.
it.
Hated it.
If the math was because there was a lot of math where I was like, I hated like complex fractions that went on or like a decimal place that had like 12 decimal places. I hated that.
Yeah.
Still not a big fan of decimals and fractions. Legitimately, it's just not. It's annoying to me. I like round whole numbers. I don't
Okay.
like excess, I guess. That's probably why I liked math. I liked math because it had exact answers. I didn't like in reading and like language arts. It would be like, which answer is the most correct?
Yeah.
It's like, like I that shit drove me up a wall.
Yeah, I don't like that either. But you know, in English, like you're reading books and you have discussions, and maybe you start thinking about how other people live, and you hear what other people. I don't know. I think all that's
think
like
that aspect's
good
important.
for you. Yeah,
But
the
I had
way
to read books
yeah.
I had no interest in, and I would I would have to struggle through them, or I can read and zone out. I can read the words that are written on there and not think about them.
Yeah.
I didn't become a strong. I wish that's one of my regrets as a kid is I wish I would have been a strong reader. Like legitimately, I wish reading came easy to me.
Yeah, I think that's one of the like most important things. That's another thing I think about child rearing. We went to like a private school like before 2nd grade. So I went to public school in 3rd grade, but it was only because my mom wanted to make sure I lived in like a very like, it was like low income community. Our schools, especially in Oklahoma in general, it's awful.
Yeah, it's not good.
And
I don't know of many people getting wealthy and retiring to Oklahoma.
no. But I mean, it has a low cost of living actually. So if you just wanted to hang out, I guess it's
Yeah.
fine. But whatever. Yeah. So it was just like wasn't a good school
It's not
system.
a destination state.
Yeah. So we went to private school when we like kindergarten through 2nd grade, just so my mom would know that we knew how to read.
Yeah.
Because if you know how to read, you can find stuff out.
Yeah.
And so that gave her like peace of mind. But yeah, reading it's important.
Yeah, 100%. But I think that too many people too many people struggle like the fact that they don't teach credit to kids, but it's such a huge part of people's lives. It can determine where you go in life and what decisions you make and where you live. And then, because you didn't learn credit and you didn't understand it, now all of a sudden you're living in a poor economic situation and you're surrounded by other people that are in poor economic situations, and people are a product of their environment.
Oh yeah.
So if you can teach kids how to strategically and to survive in society, then you're going to create a better society because you have more people that are able to function in it. And
That's true, yeah.
problem, my biggest problem, and my cynical self thinks this, is they don't want people to understand the things that make them better, because the majority of the money that is made in at least in the U.S. and in a majority of the world is made off of poor people.
Mhm.
Is made off
Keeping poor people poor.
yeah, or the more middle class poor people, the more you can convince them like, hey, you need this thing
Yeah.
because this is what everyone else has, and you're going to stretch yourself thin to do that. That's because most people don't have guidelines for their budget, and next thing you know, they'll be like, yeah, I need that designer bag or whatever.
Yeah,
because
and
of
I
that.
think just the people who are making like public school standards, usually, I'm not saying all the time, but usually they come from a background where that was a given. Financial literacy was a given, or
they came from good homes.
yeah, or they've done so well now that they have forgotten what it's like to not know or whatever. And so to them, it's like, oh, kids don't need to learn that. That's their parents' responsibility. But sometimes the parents don't even know, or they don't care,
Yeah.
or
They-
whatever.
they
They
learn
don't
Yeah.
have
their
time because all they're doing is working.
Yeah,
they're-
and that's why that leaves social mobility like impossible.
So my uncle was a principal, a school principal, and I told him this because I mean that's something I believe in. Obviously they should test it first, but my thought was like, the school system, because he made a good point. He's like, at what point is it the school system's job to be the kid's parents? And I'm like, you're right, but like people don't know what they don't know, and if you can't if their parents have bad credit, I think if you looked at a graph, statistically speaking, if their parents have bad credit and don't know how to cook, those kids are more than likely going to have bad credit and not know how to cook either, because they're going to grow up. Occasionally, you're going to have outliers of that, the kids who resent that they have bad credit. And that. But I think that statistically, it's much easier to do something than it is to seek out the uncomfort of doing something you don't know.
Yeah, and
I think I think like nutrition should be a mandatory subject. I think learning another language. If you live in a country any country, the top 2 languages, everyone should go through school learning those top 2 languages, like
Yeah.
English and Spanish for America. I think that should be incredibly important.
Yeah.
Because like going back to what you said earlier, like it's very easy to other people and be like, oh, those people over there, because you don't speak the same language as them. It's like, you guys probably feel the same way about shit, but
Yeah.
you just don't understand each other.
Yeah.
So let's focus on understanding other people more. And I mean, that's something I try and really pride myself on, is like putting myself mentally in other people's shoes. Because I feel like you get a better understanding of life that way. Like
Absolutely.
one of the things on my bucket list is to live in another country for 2 years. Like that's a very unusual thing, but it's because I want to like have what I believe is normal challenged. And I like that.
Yeah, I remember like growing up, there was I don't know, just like a very successful guy in our community, and he always said like he thinks the most important thing that you can do and most beneficial thing you can do for children is travel with them, because just the more you see how other people live, like again, you're able to put yourself in other people's shoes, and that's like a very great life skill. But
Yeah. And just understanding that like you know, what you believe is normal is not necessarily normal.
Yeah.
Like your norms to you, like I mean, that's why people will watch like Bizarre Foods. You know what I mean? Because they're like, oh, we're gonna eat this fermented shark, and it's like,
Yeah,
what? Like
Yeah.
I would never.
Yeah.
Or like what's normal to other people is not normal to you.
And I used to disagree with you about taking like nutrition, like financial literacy, whatever. Like I'd be like, no, like you can just like read books, figure that out. Like, cause I remember my school didn't offer like that many advanced classes. Like it just wasn't out. And I wanted like more, like I really liked chemistry. I wanted like more chemistry, whatever. And, but you know, something I learned, especially in college, is like you are your own echo chamber. You can only, and that's why I think people are like, oh, you can learn stuff without college if you have access to books, whatever. But you're going to read books that you're interested in. You're going to read books stuff that you know about. Like being your own echo chamber is like the worst thing that you can do. Like I think sometimes you have to like make people like digest
outside
information.
influences.
Yes, like you do. And part of that may be a class in which you're like, hey, you've never heard about any of this stuff, but like I'm about to change the whole your whole way of life with this is how money works or whatever, you know.
I just think that if you made it easy for people to be adults, if you taught them how to be, you know, if we had a general idea of like, I think it would help the economy. I think it would help the entire like basically population of the United States if you made it to where the average person was able to be better.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think in order to do that, if you teach them to be like good, because I mean, okay, let's break it down to this. There's 24 hours in a day, 8 hours of that sleeping, you know, 8 is at work.
Yeah.
So if you can make it to where the 8 hours where they're at home, where the majority of people live the same, they, you know, they have a credit score, they have like bills, they have budgets, they have, you know, there's just, you should teach these kids like, here's the normal things that you need to focus on. What you do during that 8 hours that varies so much between people for what they do for work, that is harder to broadly teach to kids.
Right.
So I would say if you made it easier for them to do the stuff that almost everybody do, you provide nutrition for yourself, keep yourself in good shape. But that's, I mean, those also go against business as well, because then big pharma is going to take a dip in money.
They don't want you to.
Yeah, and then you have less, you know, factory workers, because factory workers is typically like not skilled labor. It's like, hey, we need you to move A to B. That's all we need you to do all day, and don't question yourself. Get a paycheck and live, you know, very minimally in your life, because you were going to keep you under a certain way. And I think that if you made people good at being adults, they could focus on other things more. At least it gives them the option to. If it made it to where it's like back burner, like how many people when they come out of their parents' home, they have to, and they go to like eat something, they just end up eating what their parents ate, and then that starts this cycle of, now it's like, I think that diabetes for a lot of people is not, the only reason it's hereditary is because you just do the same thing your parents did.
Life habits.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's like, I think that's another thing I noticed too, is like, I don't want to end up, there's certain aspects of both my parents that I want to end up like, but then the other aspects I'm like, I don't want that. And if I take that same route that they take, then I would end up in that same spot.
Right.
And I don't want to take that. So I have to do different things in order to achieve different things.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that too many people would they struggle at home, and it translates to struggling at the workforce too.
Well, yeah. I mean, you can compare it to like the hierarchy of needs or whatever. If you don't have those basic things met, then you can't focus on anything else, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, just teaching people to budget and like making kids run a mock budget. Like that's not something I did.
Well, yeah. And like you said, living in chaos, like some people live in chaos because they don't budget, and you're like, it doesn't have to be this way.
Yeah.
It can be better.
Yeah.
Dude, I've seen, I mean, in the finance world, you see people all the time that have fantastic incomes, and you're like, we have nothing to show for it though.
Right.
Nothing to show for it. Where is this going? It's like they upgrade their lifestyle. They have nicer dinners. They wear like a little bit more expensive clothes, and then they divvy it all out. And you know, it's not, they end up not living a life that they want to live. You know, on paper they've done so well, but in reality they've done so poorly. And that's not something I want to do. I'd rather live a very modest lifestyle and have like modest lifestyle as far as like financially and not monetarily, but like financially and as far as like possessions go.
Mhm,
You know what I mean? Like I very much like minimalism is like a movement too. You
Oh
know?
yeah.
Like having less. To
Yeah.
me, it feels like a hell of a lot more.
Yeah. I totally agree. And there's like a certain freedom with not having too much stuff. Like, yeah. Every time I move, I'm like, I just want to get rid of all of this.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, we make it a habit.
Yeah.
I make it a habit to like get rid of clothes like that I don't wear or you know, something that's like it's like why is this just taking up space? Like this just being here takes up space in my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My family has like moved away from like a lot of gifts. Like we might do like one small thing per person or like just some like money or something because we had this whole discussion. It's like gifts. It's like you don't want it. They don't like they spent this money on something that you don't care about and now it's just in your house. And I just you know, it's just stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I've always so like what's something I try to do for Christmas gifts or birthday gifts or something is like there's a lot of stuff that I want when I see it, but then I see the price and I go the return on investment for me is not worth it. Like this thing costs $60. If it was 20, I'd be more apt to buy it.
Right.
But because
But
it's
it's not worth
60,
60.
I won't buy it. But I still want the thing.
Yeah.
So I always tell my friends like Colton's birthday is coming up as is mine, and we'll probably not end up doing anything for either of us. But I've always said that, like I have a list of things that I want that I won't buy myself. But if somebody wanted to, like those are the best gifts.
Oh yeah, something you wouldn't get yourself, but you actively want. Yeah, those are best.
Exactly. Those are the things where it's like a thank you for doing that because I wouldn't have done that for myself. There's a burden of me buying it and you assumed that burden and it doesn't feel like a burden to you because you're like, wow,
I want to get this gift for you.
that makes the person who gives the gift feel even better.
Yeah, because you're so excited about it.
I highly recommend maintaining a list of shit you want that you won't buy.
A wish list.
Yeah.
That's what I always have something and Andrew's like, just buy it. And I'm like, too luxurious. That's what I always say. I'm like, so luxurious.
I can, but nah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
he's sometimes hard to get gifts for. Okay. Andrew doesn't have a lot of needs or even wants. Like he mostly just wants a lot of rash guards. But if he wants something, like I'm like, oh my God, like he'll talk about it. I'm like, I'm going to get that for him, like for whatever next holiday. And then he just buys it for himself. And I'm like, what? He's like, well, I have the money. I want it. But I'm like,
what's that? Is that Ariana
luxury.
Grande song? I want it. I bought it. Or whatever it is. I don't know.
Yeah, so I'm like, oh, and I have to think of something else for your next gift. But I don't know. He also doesn't have a lot of stuff, so it's always like you could use this, I guess. You know.
I am the opposite of that. I will talk about wanting something for years before I buy
I'm
it
the
or before I
same
have
way.
it.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Like, how long have I been talking about how I want an additional camera and then a video changer?
I mean, that's a little different, though, I feel like. I mean...
Yeah,
I don't
but
know.
like, so... It would be so easy to just drop like 50 grand on this
You
podcast
could make
and
your
it-
podcast exactly like Joe Rogan's and have all
Would
the
it be
equipment.
so easy to
right
drop
now.
50 grand? Is that what you said?
Yeah,
Literally.
like within like you could go balls to the wall and like spend a bunch of money. Like I could get like way better cameras, way more of them, way better equipment, way better place to do it, like a way better like furniture. I could do so much stuff, but like that doesn't make that's not of my character to just spend a bunch of money. Like I like even several $1000s. Like I think over time, like something has to make sense for the money for me.
You need
And
to
so,
level up to get to that point.
Right. So like the equipment and stuff that we use for the podcast currently is relatively low budget, even though it might to people who don't have a podcast. So you walk in, you're like, whoa,
I'm
he's
like,
got this
wow,
whole,
you have
like, setup.
microphones.
How long have I been doing the
Headphones.
podcast for? Like 2 years,
Something like that,
2.5
yeah.
years, something like that now. And like, I mean, it's taken that long to get where I'm at now, and I don't know. It's just one of those things. Like it's not of my character to just go buy a bunch of shit to potentially like I have to really want it for a long time for me to justify getting it.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's like when I had my house in the last place I lived, I had multiple empty rooms because I'm like, if I don't really like furniture, like I'm not going to get it. And it just, you can just accumulate. You don't have to outfit your whole house right then.
Yeah,
But
I'm very much a big fan of like smaller, like, dude, when I say like living a part of the autonomous community, to feel like how that would feel, like that would just be so cool to experience that. Like I just want that experience under my belt, like on my life resume. That's something I think would be cool to have. Maybe I will do that. That would be a cool thing to do. But
like, hey guys, I'm here to join. They're like,
I love tiny houses. Do you know what tiny houses?
yes, I was actually, when I was at the endodontist, they had it playing on the TV and I was watching it. But
I could totally see myself living in a tiny home.
Home Depot sells them for like $43,000 now.
You could build one. You know what I mean? Like my wife and
Prefabs.
I have been to the tiny house festival twice, and we would have went more if it wasn't for fucking COVID. But Like, I love that shit. Like, the idea of living, like, it's just so easy. We lived in a mother-in-law suite for our first place.
Yeah.
Like, you could do a 360 and clean the place in 30 minutes.
That's
was
what
tiny.
I love is the cleaning is easy. And I keep looking for like I'm thinking of like buying a house again, and like everything is too big. Like it's not like I want something super nice, like I want updated appliances, but I want it small, and it's hard to find because I feel like people just want a lot of space, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't need a lot of space, you know. And it's just more to clean.
Especially if you're like planning on like wanting to have kids one day. Like, you have to consider that in the possibility. That's like, you know, I think right now for me, I think the limit of what I would want for a house would be like 1,200 square foot. Because I feel like, especially if you're gonna have, it depends on how many kids you're planning on having and stuff too. But like, I feel like that's a good number because it's like you can adequately use all of the space, but it's not an abundance of space either. And you have to be methodical about what you use each individual space for. And like, I'm not a big fan of knickknacks.
I hate
Yeah.
I want nothing. Like I want an empty home.
I don't want like a
It
3D
stresses me.
chicken, dude.
The only
Stresses
reason
me
my
to
house
stand it.
has things in it is because of my wife.
Yes. Yeah.
They like to decorate. Yeah.
Colton's like has like a lawn chair.
Like,
and
I
a
would
mattress
literally
on the
have
ground.
my computer desk, my computer chair, and maybe a recliner and the TV. That's like all I would have.
No,
The TV would
I'm
be on the
totally.
ground.
Legitimate.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm
or-
totally the same. I hate things just like sitting there. Like, why is it there?
Yeah.
yeah. Like stuff on the wall. Like, no.
I do
don't
like
care.
I know my podcast studio does have stuff.
I think some nice pictures.
A lot of it has
are
meaning,
good.
though.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
stuff that means like whatever. But like that's
But
not
there's
really
no
taking,
method to it. It's kind of just like,
Yeah, it's just
this
place.
goes here.
and it's not taking up space really
Yeah.
because it's on the wall.
Yeah. Yeah, the jacket that's hung up on the wall is a little bit, I mean, it sticks out a little bit more, but that one's like
got
an
meaning.
ode to my grandfather, yeah.
Aw.
So, yeah. But where the fuck was I going with that?
Can we take a break? I gotta pee.
I had to piss so bad too. All right, cool. We'll take a pee break and then we'll finish it off.
Okay.
Somehow we're adults. Do.
Do you normally start talking about like? Do you feel like the theme of this podcast is like goals and people like reaching, or is that just like the theme with like me, Nick?
If the conversation dries out, he'll kind of steer it
Okay.
to certain
Are you
things he
saying I'm
has.
dry?
No.
Okay.
No, so
Normally it starts off, we just start talking.
I'm
and
trying
then
to
it just goes.
I'm trying to think. So like I like free flowing conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like people that like not that I don't like it. I do listen to some podcasts where it's like written down questions
Yeah.
and people that ask it to elaborate on it. I feel like that's less natural and I enjoy those less.
Yeah.
I really enjoy the free flowing conversation, but like I think that's why the podcast is so much of who I am because and the reason Somehow We're Adults works as a good name for it is because it's so much of like what I naturally end up talking about. It becomes so second nature for
Yeah.
me. Like yeah, I think it's just, I mean, I talk about this shit all the time.
I feel like for a while then you had a predetermined set of questions you would ask people.
Yeah.
And I feel like over time it just kind of gets transformed.
Yeah. Well, also plus like I feel like we didn't really know that much about each other. You know, like
Most of the time, that's how it is with most people that come on
Yeah.
here.
So I think it's hard to ask questions when you don't know. what
Sometimes.
they- yeah.
That's why I like being in this seat where I'm not like the main person talking. Because like when I moved here, I didn't really know too many people, and I started hanging out with him, and I was like, okay, we can have his friends come on. I can listen and learn about them. So it kind of helped.
Yeah.
It also helps too, like
I like just
my
listening.
personality is you ever like Colton is the friend that like he never makes friends. He just friends
just
make
there.
him. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I met him and I worked with his it was his girlfriend at the time, but his wife now. I worked with her and I was like, wow, she's super cool. He must be cool too.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I
He's
made that
just there,
connection
yeah.
in my mind, and then like I like talked to him, and I was like, I had determined before we were friends that we were gonna be friends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Right.
that behind every introvert, there's an extrovert that befriended them because they
Literally,
wouldn't
he
leave
was
them
like-
alone.
He
That's
just
me.
wouldn't. He just wouldn't leave me alone. So I was like, I guess I got to be friends with him.
That's how I feel like me and Andrew started dating. Because like, I'm pretty introverted, but he's just like talk, and I would just like be there. And, like,
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just like I'm here,
Yeah.
an annoying, poking person. Daniela's very introverted as well. The same kind of thing. I was just
Yeah.
like, hey,
And she's like, okay, I guess.
here's me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's how it literally felt. And Yeah, all the time.
Yeah. I'm a person, as far as friendships go, like I like to have one person where I'm like, this is my friend. You
Yeah.
know, like I don't actually need any more. Which like I've made quite a few here, like especially from jujitsu. But there's one girl in jujitsu, and I think it's just like she's like we're similar age and like we're very just like similar, but she's super extroverted. So she just like I feel like we had to get to know each other because she would just like ask so many questions, like whatever.
Yeah.
And then now we're known as like the duo in the gym. Like because I'm like, this is my friend. I will do everything with her. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm
Yeah.
the person where I have to have a duo. But
Most of my friends are introverted, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe that's what like attracts me to being friends with them is that they're introverted.
you're like, come here,
Because
my
I'm like,
pet.
I'm like, I know there's more behind this
Yeah.
this facade that you're
we're
putting on.
mysterious.
Oh, shut up! Oh, Jesus Christ!
I love to listen. I've always, I think it stems from being what would you call it?
Gay.
Yeah, or that.
I'm
yeah.
sorry. That's the dude
I
in
don't
me.
care. I don't
From
care.
having low confidence as a kid.
Yeah.
Growing up, I just always listened because no one would listen to me.
Yeah, you didn't have anything to
Yeah.
talk
So
about.
I just listened and learned a lot.
I do. That's what I feel like. That's like my mom would always say, 'cause, you know, you want to describe your children the best way possible. She would always just say, "Oh, my observant child."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But really, I'm just like,
what a
what is everyone
positive
else
spin.
saying?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You just be like a fly on the wall, just kind of observing everything.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well,
Are you youngest as well?
I'm the only child.
Okay, interesting.
So
So,
yes.
maybe you had a lot of adults around. Yeah. So yeah, because I always felt like my older brother would kind of like talk for me, and so like they had me about like I always did well in school. Okay, like I was perfectly developmentally fine. Okay, but I wouldn't talk a lot, especially like, to strangers. Like, and my brother, I would like ask him to ask things, like whatever, and he'd be like, "Oh, can we blah blah blah?" Because I told him to or whatever. And so they had me like evaluated because like I wouldn't talk, but they'd be like, "She's just quiet." Like,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know.
you developed your own personality.
Yeah. And I had a lot of like pushing from my parents. Like I remember they would make me order my food and I would like cry because I'd be like, I don't want to talk to anyone. But that was good because now I can. I just don't like
Do you,
and then
do
I
you
have
still
to go,
do you still do that though to a certain extent? Do you like
I cry when
hey-
I order my food. No.
No. I mean like
Yeah.
do you ever be like, hey Andrew, can you just like order this for me? Like
Not ordering, but like I will tell him to go ask someone something. I was like, hey, can you tell so and so this? Like, yeah, he'll do it for me.
yeah. And so I do the same thing with my wife sometimes, and there's been times where I'm like we'll go to like order coffee, and like I'll order my coffee. Or I always make her go first because I'm like that was just always like women go 1st kind of thing, and. I'd be like, okay, go ahead and order. And she'll like turn and tell me her order, like half.
Oh, I don't
like
do
if,
that.
Like,
I don't
like
do
if you're
that.
the person taking her order and Colton is me, she'll be like,
Yeah.
hey, yeah, can I just get like a vanilla latte? And I'm like, what if them, not me,
And the
them.
person's like,
Okay.
yeah.
yeah. They're like,
And,
I
like,
can hear you.
It's so I don't know. I grew up. My dad is incredibly extroverted, and I guess I don't even know what my mom would be. I think she's extroverted too. But I grew up with like a good dynamic of that, where I can be okay with not being the one who's talking, which is surprising to most people. But I can be okay with not being the one who's talking, so long as that other people are doing it. Like I think I'm an incredible listener for somebody who talks this fucking much, and
Yeah.
I think that like it just bothers like it comes so easy to me that like when I got with my wife and she's so introvert that like she'd be like, hey, like can you order this for me? And I'm like, what?
Like,
Like this
what?
is like bullshit. What do you mean order it for you? You can't order it yourself? Like I was just like it was just
The social anxiety is real.
it's not something I've ever had to deal with
Yeah.
to that level, but like to the point where it's like I don't even understand it. Because I've never been an anxious person. I've had anxious moments, but like I wouldn't classify myself as anxious.
Yeah, it's not your state of being.
Yeah.
I was the kid in school that like class presentations. I dreaded class presentations.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
That I did too,
Yeah.
which is weird.
even when they'd be like on the first day and they're like, okay, stand up and introduce yourself.
It's like, nope.
Yeah, like that one.
Yeah, I honestly hate that stuff.
I have even told friends like,
I reherse it in my head before
yeah,
they get to me.
Yeah, I've even
And still
said
fuck it
like
up.
friends, you know, girls. I don't think guys are this way, but girls will like talk about their wedding, and I'm like, I don't want to have a wedding because like then people like look at you.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I don't know, you know.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
My advice.
Why do you think I like being off
Well,
camera?
I think they're a waste of money as well. But
Yeah. That's why Colton's off camera.
yeah,
yeah.
That's why I'm not on
That's not
camera.
good.
that
So
makes sense.
I
Yeah.
can just sit in the background.
This is easy for me because it's like a one-on-one conversation that we're just capturing and then allowing people
Yeah.
to observe.
Right.
Like it's
Yeah.
almost like they're sitting where that camera is. That's what I
Yeah.
think's cool about it.
Yeah.
But we don't. They're not.
Yeah, you don't
influencing
really
us.
notice. Like, I don't really notice the camera or anything.
It's there though. It's looking at you.
Stop, bitch! Stop it! Stop it! We can delete all of this, Hannah. None of this is live. If you decide, if you get to the end of it, and you're like, actually, just
You've
act like
been
that never
streaming.
happened. Yeah, exactly. No, just act like it never happened. All right, cool.
Yeah.
We'll just delete it.
Yeah.
We've never had to do that, but we'll do it.
Yeah.
No, there's if I had to do a podcast, like a conversation like we're doing in front of like essentially in front of a group of people online, but if I had to do this like live in front of an audience, it would change how the conversation is.
Drastically.
Oh, I'm
For me.
sure. Yeah.
I would be like sweating bullets right now. I would have like giant pit stains. I would be like, yeah, like my voice would be shaky.
Yeah, I think I told Andrew I was nervous because I always, even in casual conversation, like I try to make things that I say accurate. Like, and if not, like I will clarify them. And, you know, I think that's an admirable quality, being like, just be confident and just say it, even if you're wrong, you know, but I don't know. I'm just always like careful.
That's a joke I say.
No, I get it. But, I don't know, just to be aware that you are not right. I don't know. I just always would, I want to be accurate when I speak. And if I don't know, I want to be like very transparent about that. And so I was really nervous to
To do
put
something
that out
that's-
there. And
you
then
can
I know
re-listen
that
to.
when
Yeah.
I try to clarify things, sometimes I just like keep talking and they're like, what are you talking about at this point? And
like,
I'm
just
like,
eat dog food.
yeah. And I'm like, I'm just gonna say it. Then people are like, what are we talking about right now? Yeah. So that was my main fear. But I also know, like, I won't have Andrew order for me. But I might, like, if something's like, it could be said, it could be like a little controversial, or I want something from someone, I'll have Andrew because he's like a little puppy and he's so likable because he like doesn't even know what so he's like, he's like, hey, and he could just, I don't know, he's friendly, he's friends with everyone, he can talk to a wall, so like everyone thinks they're his friend.
I didn't
And
know that
so-
about him when I first met him. I thought he would be an introvert just by how he speaks.
Because he's quiet, yeah. But the something I always tell him, like, my favorite thing about him is like, it doesn't matter if you're the biggest nerd on the planet, like he will talk to you and try to help you. Like, if you want to learn something, he's like, oh, let me help you with that. Or like, you want to get into this, like, I'll teach you about that. Like, he's just like, he's so accepting of everyone, and he doesn't seem that way because he's like this guy, like super athlete, like whatever,
Yeah.
you know, the things that he does
He's
does
very,
well.
Yeah, he is very abnormal.
Yeah, but he's just so accepting of other people, and I feel like I'm always like a who are you? You know, like
Yeah.
I don't know. So yeah, it's something that I like. But anyway, yeah. So he'll go, and I feel like I have like kind of resting bitch face, so sometimes I come across as like a little.
That never scares me though.
You see past it.
I'm just like, that's a person. They live
Yeah,
a
yeah,
life
yeah.
just like
Mhm.
I do, and
That's
if
true.
they're willing to be nice to me, I'm willing to be nice to them.
Yeah.
Like I'm very, I try to be very unassuming of people and like what they are and like and do, and until you have proven to me that you are an asshole, I will assume you're not one. You
Yeah.
know what
Well, I
mean?
got a very warm vibe from you and Danielle. You're like, these are nice.
Some
people.
bro, we went to AT&T yesterday to switch our phone service, and I literally like the girl that was there was very like. Have you seen the TV show Parks and Rec?
Yes.
You remember April from Parks and Rec, the girl who's like very
Yes.
melancholy.
Yes. That was her. What you
like,
had that?
very goth. There was the girl was very similar to that, right? And she like I am who I am at all. I mean, unless I'm depressed, but that's very very rare. But I was like just who I am normally. I'm just happy to be alive kind of person. And she literally she like looked at my wife and she's like, "What it is about Spanish girls always dating like white golden retrievers?" Like that's literally what she said. I was like, yo,
She got
Why
rid
are
of
you
the-
so accurate?
what does that mean? But why does that make so much sense?
She got rid of the filter that day, and it just came out. Yeah. I don't
White
know
golden
that much about it.
retrievers, because you think about a golden retriever
just
as a
happy
dog,
as
even if
fuck.
they're just happy as fuck.
That's
I'm just
you.
Literally,
Yeah.
When she said that, I was like, what
Damn
the
it.
I literally looked at my. I was like, the fuck does that even mean? But why does it feel right?
And yeah, Danielle was like, mhm.
Yeah, but I mean that's just my
funny.
personality. I'm like, I mean I can be mean. I can be an asshole, like legitimately. But
everyone has that ability.
Yeah.
yes, but predominantly I'm like a happy, excited person. Like I try to be relatively introspective too. And I don't know. It's just who I am. I am who I am.
Mhm.
Yep.
Not me. I'm suspicious of everyone. Constant vigilance. I'm just kidding. But
I am too. But I'm also like super secure with myself,
Yeah. Yeah. That's good.
which is weird. I don't know. Life's weird, bro. That's the thing I've come to the conclusion of is it's so life is crazy. It's weird. It's beautiful. It's ugly. It's everything. I don't know. It's cool.
Do you ever think about, like, sometimes as far as personality goes, like when you like someone, you're like, I just like your collective experiences. Because if you are your experiences, you're like, I just like everything that you did before. Do you think about that?
Yeah,
Sometimes I think
so-
about that. It's not really you. I mean, part of it's you, but it's just
Yeah. It's
all by chance. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that's half the reason I do the podcast. I like hearing people's stories,
Mhm.
you know, and like, because your stories help define you. Like,
Mhm.
if you can tell a story about something, it's typically something you remember for a reason,
Yeah.
you know? I really, like, it's so, I think variety is what makes life awesome. And
Mhm.
like, if I met somebody who lived the exact same life that I did, like, I feel like I'd be so bored.
Yeah.
I'd be like, okay, that's cool. You did that thing too. Cool. Like,
Yeah.
I would hate myself if I
Yeah.
met myself, you know? I don't know. Maybe we would do jujitsu. It'd be cool. But
I
but
want to
like
do.
difference.
Sorry to
You're
interrupt,
good. You're good.
but I want to do jujitsu with myself. Like, that is my ultimate dream.
A
Clone
clone
myself.
and just
Yeah. I don't know, cause I'm like a sturdy female, but like I'm not a strong. I don't know. I just want to battle myself.
whip your own ass.
Yeah. But anyway,
such a weird conversation. This is
finish.
like, it's just got like that's like such a weird thing to think about.
It's like Jim Carrey, liar, liar. I'm kicking my own ass.
No, I've never seen that.
Never seen that?
Colton's a movie guy.
Never
If you
mind.
didn't know, you'll know now.
Oh.
Colton's a movie
Never
guy.
mind.
Seen all the movies.
Trait of an introvert, except for me. I'm not a movie person, but you know,
And I'm a big nerd, so I like computers and coding.
you're the guy with the laptop.
Mm-hmm.
But what were you saying? I interrupted. Sorry.
I don't remember, but now all I can think about now is like, what is it about that makes?
Oh,
me
you
wanna
wouldn't
do
want to
jujitsu?
hang out with yourself,
Oh,
except
yeah,
for you
yeah,
were
yeah.
like to do jujitsu.
I like,
it
but
would
I
be
like
nice.
talking to other people. Like,
Yeah.
I guess in my perfect what is it, rational human being thing is your metric for like normal. My normal, what I would like my everyday life to be with, is a lot more disciplined than I am now. And I'm not saying I'm not disciplined now, but it would be like disciplined to the point where I'm a machine, but it
Mhm.
schedules the time for the things I love. Like,
Mhm.
honestly, having like my disciplined self does not drink coffee every day in my mind, but
Mm.
there's something about sitting and having a cup of coffee with somebody and talking with them that's like so like, I don't know, the endorphins that I get from that or something like we had coffee this morning, we just hung out and talked. Like, that was
Yeah.
so cool. Like those moments, I don't know what it is about them, but I cherish those. Like,
Mhm.
I spend a lot of time with my grandparents,
Aw.
and we do like a lot of coffee or just like the old fashioned stuff that I feel like is not normal anymore. I feel like are some of the most valuable things.
Mhm.
Like, I will go like take my grandmother and be like, hey, we're going to this new coffee spot and you're coming with us, and then we'll just sit there and have
That's
coffee.
so cute. Yeah.
Like, my grandmother made a pie the other day, so we went and got coffee the other day.
Mm-hmm.
We took my grandmother and we went to this new coffee spot in Tampa, which she grew up in Tampa 100 years ago. So like she knows Tampa. Like she's like, oh, this used to be da 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 da. This area has changed so much, and you get to hear the history of like
Mm-hmm.
how like if you meet somebody who's and this is gonna sound really like disturbing, but like if someone who's at the end of their life, you know what I mean. The time is not of something they have a lot of a commodity wise. They have this like huge perspective on life that it's just like too many people ignore.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think of their grandparents as grandparents, but they were like you, like they were your age at one
They
point,
experienced
you know?
similar stuff and
Yeah.
just different, and it just wore different clothing. That's the way
Yeah.
I look at it.
Yeah.
And so I like going and taking my grandmother out because I get to hear her experiences and you know what life was like back then, and like she is a product of how she grew up, and
Yeah.
like, you know, like she doesn't like facial hair, she doesn't like tattoos because during that time that meant like you were in jail or you couldn't
Right,
afford, you
yeah.
were poor, or you were homeless, or like she doesn't you know, she eats the same way. Like, it's just like the habits that she's established and like the monetary habits that she's gotten from all of it too. You know, she's a big proponent of a paid for house because it's A, the security of it, and B, like that's where the number one most expensive thing that most people purchase. And like hearing all of this stuff, and then, but we were talking. We went and had coffee, a second cup of coffee that day when we went to Hyde. It was actually the day we all went to Hyde Park.
Uh-huh.
The next day, I went back to Hyde Park with
To-
my grandmother.
okay, yeah.
Because she wanted to just go walk around. We were trying to
Aw.
kill time, and we
Yeah.
sat and had coffee at the same place we all went to lunch at. And we sat and had coffee there, and she was like, oh, this pie that they have here, it's just not like it used to be, because this place has been open for a long time. She's like, it used to be made by this one lady, and it was like this, and I have a recipe that's mostly there. There was one secret thing that they wouldn't tell me, and I don't know what it was, but this pie recipe, I'll have to break it out. And like next thing you know, like my grandmother sent me a picture on Friday and was like, hey, I found the recipe and made the pie. Stop by when you have time. And I'm like, that like melted my heart. Like a little bit. I was like, oh. So I Friday, most people's Friday nights are like, oh, I can't wait. It's Friday to go out and do this like, just clubbing kind of thing. You know, like that's like the party day or whatever. Friday's like the party day, if you will. And Fridays for me have always been like the day where I can like kind of like dial back life, because I go so hard Monday through Thursday, and Saturday and Sunday.
Chill night,
So Saturday and Sundays are pretty crazy. So like oftentimes for Fridays we have leftovers for dinner, and I'll go hang out with my grandparents.
I think that's wonderful.
Yeah. I went to my grandmother's house, and it would have been so easy to just show up, eat a piece of pie, and then bounce.
And then go, yeah.
And I was like, it's raining. My dad wanted me to go feed the dogs at his house, and he likes them to be fed at a specific time, but I was like, they'll be okay.
Yeah.
But I literally sat and had a piece of pie with my grandmother, and then I just sat and talked with her for like an hour. Like that moment is like so huge, but seems so insignificant.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's like, I don't know what it is about those moments, but I love those moments.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what makes life beautiful to me.
No, I totally agree. I love old people in general, but like, yeah, grandparents. And I think we don't pay. That is one thing I miss about moving from. I've already said my state where I came from.
Oklahoma.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, I was trying to remain anonymous, but whatever.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big state.
Yeah, that's fine.
Jennifer would just change like everything. It's just everything about you. You need a hat. You need a hat to like cover your eyes too.
Yeah.
I can blur your whole section if you want on the camera.
It's fine. Again, it's like futile. Who cares? Everyone's like, bitch, we don't care. But anyways.
And I'll just like in the description for your podcast, this person came on the podcast to talk, and that's the whole description.
My voice is like lowered.
We'll do a voice filter.
Oh, like the CSI one. It's just like, I was the whole world.
Yeah. No, that wouldn't be pleasant to listen to. Maybe it would be better than my voice, actually. I don't know. But that is one of I very much miss my grandmother, but same. She's like a force. Okay, so like she was ahead of her time. She's like 93, so she's like really old for a grandmother. I think she had kids later, and then my parents had kids later. And but she was the first woman to graduate with an accounting degree from her university. And then then she worked for the same company that I worked for now. So I feel like we have like a special little, But I don't know. She's just like a smart lady, and she's just, she's so old now.
There's a wisdom that comes with, like, there's a difference between being smart and being wise.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that are smart but are dumb.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm,
They're just not wise. Mm-hmm. And I think it's better to be not smart but wise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And wisdom is something you get from people who have, like, one of my favorite quotes is the hard part about life is it is understood backwards but lived forwards.
Yes.
So if you meet old people who have lived a lot of life and you get the experiences from them without having to experience the pain that they go through, I mean, that's immeasurable.
Yeah.
I think part of the reason I'm a relatively blunt person when it comes to hard subjects. Mm-hmm. To the point where it makes other people uncomfortable. But I get that from my grandparents. I was babysitted by my grandparents growing up. And my grandmother I think she's been married 3 or 4 times. I think 3. And she has been through abusive husband after abusive husband. And then now her current husband is just awesome. He's my step grandfather, but he's been around my whole life. So he's just my grandfather. Mm-hmm. And she had to, like, a break in her personality where she was just like, I'm not taking shit no more.
Yeah.
And since then, that's like, she's so blunt about stuff, and like that rubbed off on me. I was like, I only saw benefit in that, and I was like, fuck it, that's what I'm gonna be blunt like.
Why
that.
sugarcoat it?
Yeah. Well, and I think like us as a generation, like we've all realized that everyone has stuff, like bad stuff, and like nobody really, I think in previous it's like so worried about what other people think, and at this point it's like, who cares?
Yeah.
Like,
appearance was everything.
Yeah.
What BMWs got their status because they made people feel like they had status.
Yeah.
The Mercedes is same thing, same kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was actually, to like Andrew, that's my first, I guess, like long-term relationship. And I mean, I'm still relatively young. Like I was always in school. So he was the first person I dated out of school. So I just never really gave like long-term thought, honestly. But family dynamics is something I think that we've both had to get used to, because I think his is just more like matter of fact. Like they will joke with each other back and forth, you know, like kind of give each other their shit. And like my family is just like so polite. And I'm not saying like one is better than the other, because at least his family like like they'll just come out and say it, you know. Like mine's like so polite, like you have to behave. And so sometimes he would say certain things in front of me, and I was like, oh.
Yeah.
We actually don't say that.
Yeah.
But he's just being, everyone laughed, like he's being funny. It's just like, you know, not.
He's not prim and proper about it.
Yeah. And he can be. He's a very polite boy, you know, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I would say my family's to the extreme end. And
I can be prim and proper at moments. And
Yeah.
I would just prefer not to be.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I like swearing. I like talking about like a large side of one side of my family is like you know, hold themselves to a certain standard of how they appear to others and this, that, and the other. And I have gone complete opposite. I'm like, I don't give a shit what people think about me. I care about what I think about me.
Yeah.
And how like so many people will try and fake an appearance. So I mean, we live in a society of people who want to appear like they're doing better than they are. And I'm like, I'm the opposite of that. I want to appear like I'm doing worse than I am.
Yeah. And people learn, they're like, oh,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah.
Like I drive old used cars.
Right. Yeah. Because, yeah. And I think something that like changed my thinking when I moved, because when you move, like nobody knows you, and you're like, and then you learn that nobody cares
Yeah,
about you.
no one cares.
No.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you're just like a person, like you have no family here. You're not the center of anyone's world.
Gives
And so
huge
you're-
perspective change.
Yeah, and you're like, I can just do whatever I want, and you make your own life. I don't
Yeah.
know. When you don't have family around, I feel like it kind of. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm not
especially-
saying it's possible to achieve.
That's
Obviously,
why I
with
wanted
family
to.
around, but
That's why I wanted to move countries or move states. Like
Yeah.
both of those things are on my bucket list as two different things.
yeah,
Like coming from a small town, like we had like less than 10,000 people growing
Mm-hmm.
up. So everyone knows everybody.
yeah,
And then you come here and like this is the big city to me, Lakeland.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh shit. I mean, now I can like start over almost.
yeah,
It's weird.
Yeah. You can create what you want.
Yeah.
What you want out
Yeah.
of it. You can craft yourself a little bit more. Yeah. Because you didn't grow up with the same people anymore.
right.
You were saying something about like family and stuff. I've just never been a big
You hear the
fan.
donkey?
Yeah, did you hear the donkey for a second?
Yeah, I did. I was like-
There's donkeys in around here. Bunch of
That's
them. But I don't know. Like I've always been like a
A bitch? No, I'm sorry.
Yeah, 100%. But like I've always like I'm okay with like people like joking with me and stuff like
Yeah.
that too. Like I can laugh at myself, and too many people are worried about how they appear to others, and it's terrible. Like I would rather like look like I'm like they'd be like, oh my gosh, do you have money? It's like, yeah, I have money because I don't spend it on stuff to make it look like I have money.
Right. Yeah.
That's more important to me because I mean the material possessions are just bullshit.
Yeah.
Especially like cars. I mean they do. The hard part is about like, especially when it comes to like real estate and stuff like that, is you have to appear a certain type of way because you have to appear as normal or doing well in society, which is it is hard to be abnormal and have good finances and appear like you have good finances. That's hard to do.
Yeah. Yeah, you
'Cause
have
people
to
judge
fit in
your
where
appearances.
Yeah.
When you're in that
They
kind of
judge
a
what
role.
kind of house you're in,
Yeah.
what kind of car you have, but they might not see the debt that you have.
Yeah.
Like I saw a quote the other day. It was like the normal is to go to college, have $50,000 in student loans, then get a $35,000 car, and you finance the car. You get a credit card, and then you buy a $350,000 house, and then now you're close to $500,000 in debt, and you work to just pay that stuff off, and hopefully you can live life between those two things.
Yeah. Yeah. In econ, we call that income smoothing, where you take out a bunch of loans when you're. It's actually advised, but again,
Why is it
humans are
advised?
not rational because it's irrational for you to like live very poor. Okay, so like if you don't have a lot of money in your 20s, it's just in econ like it doesn't make in the research realm like it doesn't make sense that you suffer those times and all of a sudden you make a bunch of money. Now you don't know what to do with all that because money is worth less the more and more you have. It's worth more when you have less of it. Does that make sense? It's like if you have like a graph, it's not like it like
It means
everyone
more the less you have.
each like marginal amount. Like if you have a graph, it increases it less. So
okay.
you're gonna have a graph that's like this. Like
What you're saying is like to like if Jeff
Okay,
Bezos
like-
buys a yacht for $10 million,
why does he need 3?
right.
Yeah, or even if you have
compared
pizza.
to his net worth, it's nothing.
Yeah, exactly. But say you're like really hungry and you have a piece of like that first piece of pizza is going to be so good, and the second one is probably really good, and the third one's probably good, but like you're getting full, and the fourth it's like okay, and then you don't want a fifth piece of pizza. Maybe you do.
I do.
But like
I do, yeah.
But at a certain point you don't even want that pizza anymore. But tomorrow you will want it, so it makes sense for you to have it tomorrow, right? So income smoothing is that the money that you have later past a certain amount is better used when you're young, so you should take out loans. I'm not telling people to take out loans. That's not even the point. It's just like a funny, it's kind of just like it's not advice.
It's a term.
Yeah.
It
Or
is.
like-
It's a funny like phenomenon that we use. It's not given for like the general public. It's just like it's used to like explain things in research.
Yeah, there's different views of like
If we were machines,
Debt.
that's what we would do.
right.
Yeah.
There's different views of debt, and I'm so much of what is good in life is in the fruitful things of life, in my opinion, come from delayed gratification.
Oh, I completely agree. Like it's too luxurious. Like I have to have it on a special day. You know, same thing. Yeah.
Exactly. And well, I feel the same way about like if you don't have the money to buy it, then to me that means that it isn't time to have it.
Oh, living above your means is I completely agree.
And, but we live in a society that's normalized living above your
Yeah.
means.
I also it can become an issue because if you don't look out for yourself, like if you don't ensure you're safe, like, you know, if some catastrophe were to happen and you don't insure yourself, like you become a hazard to society because now society has to pick up the slack for you. Do you see what I'm saying? Like it's kind of a,
What do you mean?
I don't want to see like morality thing, but like if you're not insuring yourself, like if you don't have a safety net for yourself, the government becomes a safety net for you. Like, and then because whether you plan on it or not, if a catastrophe happened and say you didn't have any money now, you would be like either bankruptcy, whatever. That means you defaulted. So now someone else's rates are going to go up because it's not one for one, obviously. You know what I mean? But just like, you know, some people, like insurance, you may have to pay more because some people are really sick. Whereas you're healthy. Why do I have to pay so much? Well, because the company still has to make money because they're making money off you because they're losing money from someone else. I don't know. So sometimes that's how I think about it. Like if you're living way above your means, like you're causing a destruction to society. But that's a hot take because I know I'm a privileged human being, but
that makes sense though, because you're 100% right. I mean, so like one of the things that I use to parallel that as far as like the same kind of like idea is like you know, the fire department and like the police is a relatively socialist idea, right?
Yeah.
We all pay
exactly.
taxes for it. All of our money gets used for it, but most people don't use it very often. They never like I'll never see a return on my investment for that, most likely. But if I ever need it, it's available.
Yeah.
But then like so my dad was a first responder and like I mean legitimately like they would run repeat calls on people because like that person like abused it, or they would be like, you know, that there were constant problems. So like some people, they're just like you're the reason that this has to be this way because of like how you handle your life, and they're just like, oh, we got to go see Johnny again. They're a regular, and it's like they're a regular for the fire department. Like my dream is to die and have never needed to call 911.
Yeah,
isn't that everybody's dream?
Yeah. And for Florida, you pay. It's on your property taxes as an assessment. It's not a tax because it's not ad valorem. It's not based on the value of your home.
I know what all that means from real estate. Ad valorem means in relation to the value of the
yes,
home.
exactly.
Yep.
But fire.
So cool. I can't believe someone else just told. Okay, sorry.
Fire and emergency services are not based on that. It's just whether you have a property or not, and that's because it doesn't. You would think like, oh well, if you have a fire, the bigger the house, like the more firemen it will take or whatever. But that's not really. They send like the same. Based on if it's like a warehouse or a residential. If it's a residential unit, they pay the same amount. If it's a hotel, or they send this dispatch the same amount. If it's a hotel, they send dispatch a certain amount. So you're taxed based on the type of place you have, whether it's residential, multifamily, business, whatever. And people always. This was an alludement to my last job. People and in city and county council meetings, people always have problems with that because they're like, oh, why? I just have a small house. Why should I pay more than this big? But the small houses are the ones calling 911 more often. Low income call way more.
It's crazy. So, it creates a cycle of repeat too.
Yeah. That was a long winded. It doesn't matter, but that's a fun fact for you. That's how Florida assessments are done. But anyways, too.
Yeah. And I don't know. It's just one of those things like I don't know. I don't know how if that could be approved on at all as far as like you know, I don't use the fire department that often. Why do I need to pay as much money in taxes as everybody? It's like, yeah, but then you privatize it, and then like, you know, if you didn't have money for it, now you can't afford this thing, and
Yeah.
you're just gonna.
I mean,
let your
it's
house burn down?
essentially insurance. It's just like a different
Form.
type of
Yeah,
insurance.
it's government taxed insurance.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast about insurance and like all the different kinds that we should have. Like, okay,
Most
would-
people are
if-
underinsured.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
If you could have divorce insurance, would you get it?
If I could have divorce insurance, would I get it?
Yeah.
What is it insuring?
Attorneys. I think it would be too expensive.
I don't know. I would have to learn more about it and think about it more. I can't just say for certain or not. I would most of the time.
I think they tried to offer it, but it didn't work out. So
I firmly believe, and there is a lot of bullshit insurance. There is
Yeah.
too much insurance
Yeah.
for a lot of things because the insurance capitalizes on people living paycheck to paycheck,
Mm-hmm.
and they go, oh, you know, you don't need to like phone insurance is one of the ones that kills me.
yeah, I don't have, yeah.
'Cause,
It's like,
like-
I can buy a new phone if I really need it. Yeah, but a lot of people.
Most
you
people
know,
cannot.
Yeah.
Most people have to finance their phone,
Mhm.
and I like the words like you said earlier, self-insure.
Mhm.
Like I don't know if that was the word you used, but that's the word.
Yeah,
I
it
used.
was. Yes,
Yeah.
to self-insure yourself against
Most people don't have any-
calamity.
most
Yeah.
people do not have an emergency fund.
Right, right.
They like what it was. I forget what the statistic was, but like most people cannot handle a $500 emergency.
Yeah.
If they miss a paycheck, they're fucked.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they're out of work. Or if
Yeah.
if they have to go on disability and
Yeah.
get 60% of what they get paid, they literally can't afford it.
Yeah.
And there's insurance designed to capitalize on that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you
Which-
need to have credit insurance for this
Yeah.
or whatever.
And
Yeah.
I think like, I feel like I've seen where someone can make the best decisions, but you have life kind of like fucks you. And that happens too, but sometimes it is based on your decisions to
Yeah.
mix, but
Yeah. One of the things I learned from experience, and I didn't realize this until in there, is like people who lose weight, like make drastic weight changes because they make drastic changes in their life. They are typically like it's very easy for somebody losing a bunch of weight to also change how they handle their finances. And I did both at the same time. There was
Really?
nothing wrong with how I handled my finances previously, but there was no guide for it.
Okay.
And I started doing both at the same time, and like I was like, wow, it's like the things that you use to lose weight are also the same things you use to correct your finances. Like it's like the same like parts of your brain. It's weird. It's super weird. I don't understand it. I don't
like
understand
discipline, you think?
Yeah, I think it's a discipline.
Interesting. That's
think
very
it's a-
Oh, you're aware of everything you're doing.
that's very well, even being unhealthy is expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, people say the gym's expensive, whatever. Eating healthy is expensive. I don't know. I eat
Yeah.
a lot of
Can be.
beans. Like, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, I
Yeah.
eat so much beans. But
My
my family
stomach
calls
can't
me
do
the
it.
bean queen.
being queen.
It's
Bro,
a title.
What's your favorite kind of beans?
Okay, it used to be
Can I guess?
what?
Oh, you're
Sure.
saying limehouse. Never mind.
No,
Sorry.
that was before.
I was gonna
w-
guess black beans.
That is really up there because they're very versatile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can make so much stuff out of black beans.
Yeah,
And they taste good.
But although a lentil is not a bean, I eat a lot of lentils. They have so much iron.
What are they considered?
A legume, I think.
I honestly don't know what the fuck the difference is between a legume and a bean.
They're all beans to me.
Yeah.
I think a lentil.
Google
I
it,
think-
Colton.
What?
We have the internet at our
Fact check.
fingertips.
What's a lentil?
I think
Yeah.
it's a legume. They're just so healthy for you, though. So versatile as well. I eat
I think you
pasta
spelled it
made
wrong.
of.
Is it
Lenteo.
L-E-N?
Yeah, E.
Yeah.
Yeah, words are hard.
I
They
don't
are.
know.
Ah,
You had the
yeah.
I and the E switched to hat.
Yeah,
there you
yeah.
go. Yeah.
Lentil.
So
legume.
lentil.
There you
There
go.
you go.
What's the difference between? Can you Google what the difference between a legume and a bean is?
Are lentils and beans the same things? There you go.
Lentils and beans are both types of legumes. So while a lentil isn't a bean, they both belong to this. Okay, whatever. I'm
It just
lost.
is. They're both vegetables.
They're both vegetables.
I don't know.
Eh.
whatever.
Anyways.
Regardless, yeah.
Yeah, you can being healthy is expensive, but so is being sick.
Going back to that delayed gratification thing, being
Yeah.
healthy is a delayed gratification of like longevity in life, and
Mm-hmm.
obviously you could get in a car wreck and die, you know what I mean, like that's something that is regardless of your health, but it's like, too many people are too hard to go too hard in the YOLO, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they're just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have this thing. I don't know. I think the more I have disciplined myself, the more I enjoy life. That's the crazy part.
I think it makes things mean more. You know about like type 2 fun?
No, tell me about it.
I don't know if that's like a widespread term. My brother and I always talk about it, but you know, you have your regular fun that's like, I'm hanging out with friends, like I'm eating good food, I'm going on a like regular fun, whatever's just like regular fun to you.
Fun in the moment.
Yes. And then there's fun where it's awful and somehow it makes it fun. That is my favorite kind of fun. I feel like
Yeah.
there's like
The suck.
something.
The more
yes,
rewarding.
yes. Yeah. And like, you know, if you go, I remember I went camping with Andrew and I'm like, this camping is fun. It's too easy. And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, I want to have to swim across a river. I want no stores by. I want us to starve for 3 days. Like, like that's the kind of camping I want. But we went camping and we would like, there was a store down the road we could go to. There were like showers on the campsite, which is like cool, fun. Like I want it to be difficult. Like you can't drink because you're worried about the elements. Okay. Like that.
Can't drink alcohol.
Yeah. Whereas like we, you know, it was kind of like a relaxed like situation, which is cool. It was just wasn't what I was expecting, I guess.
You want survivalists.
You want like primitive camping.
Yeah,
like build a fire, cook over the fire.
And type 2 fun. Yeah. And then the type 2 fun is afterwards. You're like, that was fun.
So
and
that's
you're like, what?
That's what hunting is for me.
Yeah, yeah.
Colton's been like, there's been, I mean, Colton almost fucking, how many times have you almost died doing stuff
Quite a
with
few.
us? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he goes completely pale and like, cause he's just heat exhaustion and shit.
Well, I grew up
Okay.
with asthma too, and being heavier doesn't help.
Yeah.
So it's hard to, once I get going, like I'll go until I pass out, and
Yeah.
I get there quite
He's
easily.
he's knocking on the door a lot.
Yeah.
And you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Because I don't get in much air when I do stuff, and but yeah.
or he'll start like hyperventilating slowly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But so, I really like hunting because like, it's that type 2
Yeah.
fun. Now that I have a term for it, I'm gonna call it that forever.
There you go.
But you go hunting and like it's
hot.
It's hot. You're not showering.
You stink.
You're disgusting. Like everything is so much harder.
Yeah.
Everything. Like waking up, sleeping is a chore because you have to like, you know, like we sleep in air conditioned buildings
Yeah.
where it's like, oh, my temperature range is this. If it's 76, I can't sleep. If it's 72, it's like perfect.
Yeah.
Like we live in that, and then like when we go hunting, it's like, okay, you're sleeping in a truck.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times.
Yeah.
You're sleeping like not laying flat with your feet in shoes, which I hate wearing shoes. And then like you have to be so cognizant of all the equipment that you have, all of the stuff like, and then not only that too, like you have the elements around you, you have bugs around you, you have like all of these things like you know, you're so attuned to everything, and it's humbling as fuck. You realize
Yeah.
we're these like meat vehicles that are pussies.
Yeah.
And like then you leave and you're on your way home, and I realize if I had a fun time hunting or not when I shower when I get home. That's
I
when
was just about to say, when you shower and you have that first meal after it, and you're like, ah,
you like get into clean,
yeah,
like air conditioned
the
clothes.
coziest you've ever been.
Just getting in the river.
Yeah.
And when
Yeah.
we do that, whenever we go down
Dude,
there,
so
sometimes
there's
that is the best fucking
there's a
feeling.
spring fed river, and a lot of times I think the only times Colton has been is when it's hot as fuck out.
Yeah.
And when it's hot as fuck out in the woods, there's deer flies, and deer flies suck ass.
Like huge?
They're
just
big.
the little
they bite,
yellow
They
flies.
bite, yeah,
they bite and they're loud as shit, and then like bug spray does nothing for them. Like we take all these mosquito repellents and shit
Yeah.
to try and get bugs to go away, but
They
deer
just
flies
huff
are
it.
like, hold my fucking beer, bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Through
And
your clothes.
everything, like on your face will touch your, like they just like they'll swarm you. Like you'll feel like if you could see it from like a video camera away, it would be like a swarm
Literally.
of bugs around you. I have a whole nother story. I'll
Yeah,
tell you in a
it
moment.
sucks.
But like you get hot and sweaty, and you like get like a film of like goo on the outside of your skin from being in the sun. Especially if you're putting
Yeah.
sunscreen on and
yeah,
bug
I
spray.
hate that.
Yeah, so you get that like
The
texture.
goo, yeah, and then the salt. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and you're hot and you're overheated. And you're wearing, but you have to wear long sleeves because
Right,
you want to keep
everything's
as
gonna
much of the sun off of you.
And it's gonna scratch you.
and bugs and then dust and like
And you got fucking waterproof snake boots on, so you don't get bit by snakes
your
walking
feet
through.
are sweating now, and like my
Yeah.
feet are hot. Your body starts to swell too. Like my ring fits me
Yes.
tighter in the heat and stuff like that. And then we'll go in the middle of the day when we're at our like most like fuck this is when we go to like a spring fed river and you get in it and it's 60 degrees
Yeah, like,
and it's bliss. It is like you're like all of a sudden you're freezing to the point of shivering because like
Yeah.
you've been hot all day, so 60 feels like fucking 30.
Yeah.
And you like get it and you're like, ugh.
It's amazing.
You have to like jump in it because if you try to slowly do it, it's gonna take you forever to get in that water. It's like, I don't know those are the good moments. Those are the moments, and you get out and you like dry off and you feel like refreshed. Those are awesome. And then the showering one's like the best. Like you get home and you shower and you put on clean clothes and you're like, this is something I take for granted normally.
Yeah.
Or like, that's a lot of things I try and do is like the stuff that I do normally, like and just drinking coffee. Like I really have to I have to be cognizant and like take a sip of black coffee and be like, oh, that was good. I was like, enjoy it. Because you could just let it slip by.
Yeah.
Like it's hard for me to be in the moment. I'm like a hard to be in the moment kind of person. Like
I'm the
especially like
same,
I have
and
to
you
be like
know
I
what?
enjoy this podcast. Like I need to really think that I am enjoying this podcast kind of thing.
I actually think because like we're both like time efficiency people, like go. I think that's like where that stems from, because sometimes I get worried about like time passing because I have stuff to do even if I don't have anything to do, and I'm like, why am I actually I did. This guy I was dating a long time ago commented on that. He was like, I feel like you're always like in a rush to be somewhere. And I'm like, actually, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's where it comes from, though. You're like, you're busy. And I don't know.
I almost have to like schedule time to have nothing scheduled.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's that. I don't vacation well.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have to be actively, like that's why I like hiking so much, is because it's basically like being active while being in another terrain.
Yeah.
I
like to have activities planned. And
Yeah.
take vacations.
Yeah. Because I don't want to waste my time.
Right. Yeah.
And,
And
like,
I'm here.
Yeah. Like I like watching movies feels like a waste of time to me, but I enjoy watching movies. So that's like there's like this
Like just do it. Just watch. Yeah.
So like I have to plan to like to go. Like we went and watched a movie last night, and like we went to the movie theaters and watched a movie, and I was like. Like had I been at home, I probably would have given up like halfway through this movie.
Yeah.
And like it's just easier for me to like a big thing as an adult that I've noticed struggling with is in order for me to enjoy something as far as like an activity or something, I almost have to leave my house because there's just too many things to do
At home. Yeah. That makes sense. Especially watching the movie. Yeah.
I'm a perfectionist.
Right.
That's why I like tiny houses so much, is you can actually get everything perfected
Yeah. In that
no
little
time.
space. Yeah. True.
And then you can just sit and enjoy sitting in a room full of perfections in your mind. You know what I mean? As weird as that might sound, that's
like
how it feels.
everything's done. Yeah.
Yeah. But when I'm at home, I'm like, oh, I needed to hang that picture frame up. Oh, well, this new shelf that she's bought, I need to hang that up. And oh, well, I don't have the right equipment to hang that up, so I need to run up to the store real quick and get that. And then next thing you know, I've just burned 5 hours mentally.
Yeah. Right.
And I'm tired already. You know?
Yeah. No, my brother rock climbs, which I think is like the ultimate like type 2 fun because it's scary and yeah.
That's a whole nother
And,
type of fun. I don't classify that as type 2. That's scary as fuck.
Yeah, I've done a little bit with him, but one time I was visiting him, and he was like, "Okay, we're just gonna like basically do this hike to this climbing spot." I'm like, "Okay," and so I'm thinking, since he said climbing spot, I'm thinking it's bouldering, which is you just go like up like a certain rock and then come down. But the hike is really, it's difficult. You don't need climbing shoes for the hike, but it's quite vertical. It's like up this mountain. And he's like, yeah, just keep your climbing shoes like in your like backpack, whatever. And then he's like, okay, we're to the spot. We're just climbing a mountain. Like that's what it's not boulder. Like we're climbing a mountain. We brought nothing. It's huge. It takes yeah. So then he's like, okay, put on your climbing shoes. He was like, all right. He's like, usually people hook into the wall because, you like hook in as you go.
So you don't fall.
Yeah, exactly. But he was like, I'm like, I feel really comfortable on this mountain. So I'm going to hook you to me. And if you feel like you're going to fall, like, just let me know and I'll hold on tight.
The fuck?
I don't want to hear this story.
No.
Oh my God.
So again, like, he's good. Like, you
got a lot of trust in his grip.
Yeah. I have this like crazy trust for my brother. I don't know. I feel like he always just told me what to do, and it always worked out. Like, I don't know. I think he's a great human being. But anyway, he's very strong. And I was like, okay. And yesterday I was like, I jumped into this like lake and I broke my toenail because it hit it on a rock. So I'm climbing and I don't have a toenail. So I'm like kind of bitching about it. And we're going up, and it's just like it feels never ending. Like I can't see the top, and I don't have a toenail, and I'm scared. And I've done like climbing with him, and it's hard for me to be scared, but at this point, like I was, and so like I start like I'm crying, but it's not like I'm crying because I'm having terror. It's just, as a girl, sometimes sometimes there's just water coming out of your eyes. Like, I don't know. And like the wind, like, I don't know how else to explain it. Cause you're like, I'm good. I'm just crying and carrying on with my life, whatever. Yeah. But and so like the wind, there's snot coming out, and like it's a desert. It's like the dirt is like sticking to my face from the tears and the snot. So I look crazy. But anyway, and I'm just following him, and I'm like, Ian, like, how do we do we have to climb back down? Because I always hated going down because that's scarier to me because it's harder. Well, kind of. Because it's easier to go down really fast than it is to go up really fast. You know?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you get it. And I was like, what's it like coming? Like, what's like? He was like, oh, because he can already tell I'm tired and it's hard and whatever. And he's like, oh, you basically just walk down. There's like another way down. I'm like, oh, okay. He's like, yeah, what would you do if it was like this the way down? I was like, I'd push you off this mountain. So anyway, we finally get it. And then he's like, okay, so now we have to get down. There's no easy, you have to go back down the way that you came. So then you have to climb down and then we get down to the hiking part and it's hard because you're like jumping from rock to rock and he's like, just pretend you're a mountain goat. But anyway, it's like, so the whole time I'm like crying. We have no food. We have no water. We had like a small water, but we're out there for like 8 hours, like in the sun, in the summer, in like the desert. And we get done and I'm like, that was fun. You know, it's like, he thought he was going to have to like drop me off his girlfriend at the time's house and let me like cool down before I would like hang out with him again, but I'm like, no, that's great. But yeah, I don't know, that kind of fun. I just don't remember. And he's like, would you do it again? I was like, yeah. But it's like at the time I was like, I remember telling him, I'm like, I'm so mad at you for taking me on this. Like, you're the worst brother. He's the best brother. But I was like, this is awful. But then afterwards I was like, yeah, we should do that again sometime. Anyway, type 2 fun.
Not even slightly interested in ever doing that. We went to Zion in Utah.
Yeah.
You ever been there?
Yeah, that's actually where my brother lives, Utah. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah,
so you can rock climb in Zion.
Right.
And I was like, when we were at the Zion National Park and we were watching people climb those like fucking big ass rocks, and I literally like my hands are sweating just from your story you just told me. I got anxious about it. I don't experience anxiety until we're talking about heights and or spiders. But see. Yeah, no. I watched people rock climb while we were in there hiking, and I'm like, that's not for me.
Yeah.
It's not for me. Nope. I like skiing, surprisingly, even though that's like you're on the side of
great. Yeah, it's one of my all-time favorite things to do.
Yeah, I want to live in a place where I want skiing to be like the beaches for us here. Like, I can go to the beach anytime, but like, I'm so uninterested in the beach.
Know. It does get boring. That's the thing. Like, every time I go to see my brother and we ski, I'm like, I have to move. You know, but I don't know.
I wish I could convince my wife to move. Yeah. It'd be cool. It's so much cheaper to live in other places too.
Yeah, but Utah, no, because it's the valley and like they can't, and then the zone, so they can't build out and then they can't build up because they have zoning laws. So there's like a very strict.
You're talking about in Zion? Or what are you talking about?
No, in Salt Lake City.
Oh,
like if you wanted to live like in the city, whatever, it's so expensive because they basically can't really build that much because they can't build out and they can't build up.
Yeah.
So there's a shortage, but.
Yeah. But in the middle, we stayed in Salina, Utah, which is like right smack dab in the middle, and there's nothing there. Like, houses have got to be cheap there. There's just nothing there.
Yeah.
But
then you live somewhere there's nothing. It's whatever.
Yeah, because going back, I wouldn't have stayed there because it was so far from everything. Everything was a 2-hour drive minimum.
Yeah, well, I've learned I'm a city girl. Yeah.
I liked the view of everything there. Like, you'd go to like,
oh, it's so beautiful.
I have a picture I took because it was just so weird because I've been in Florida for so long, and it's just a picture of like a freaking Tractor Supply sign, and in the background there's just snow covered mountaintops. Like, I was like, that's so crazy to me as somebody who grew up in Florida our whole lives. Like, it's just like
you grew up here, so snow wasn't really like a thing.
Yeah, we went to North Carolina a lot, but North Carolina's mountains is way different than the Rockies, and like driving from Colorado to Utah was in fucking sane. Like, that drive, it was, you think about a road trip and you're like, oh, this is gonna suck. That was probably one of the coolest road trips I've ever been on because I wasn't even driving, my wife was driving, and I was like I actually just like look around. That was so fucking cool. Yeah. And like watching the because you go from like really rocky ass steep mountains and stuff like that in Colorado, like a lot of snow and stuff, and the next thing you know, you're in Utah and there's plateaus everywhere. Yeah. That was so crazy to me.
Yeah, the desert climate. Yeah, Utah's beautiful.
It is. It really is. I see why the Mormons like it so much. I got to sit next to Mormons. It was cool. Oh, nice. And I was like, wow, these are just people. I'm being stupid.
They're just people. Yeah. A lot of actually like moved to Oklahoma because it's lower cost of living.
It's close. Where is Oklahoma? Oklahoma's on top of Texas, so I guess it's more eastern than Utah.
Yeah, but it's still like, I'm not saying it's close, but it's.
Can you pull up a map of the Midwest?
That's what some people classify Oklahoma as the West. Technically, it's Midwest, the South, but yeah.
Yeah.
By the Census Bureau, it's the South, but not really.
No internet. Your Wi-Fi died.
Oh, it's very possible. Yeah. Yep, it died. Legitimately, the battery died.
Oh,
Well,
well.
let me Google it on my phone because I'm
It
curious now what's next to it.
Well, like to the west, it's what Colorado, New Mexico,
Down
and then
below,
it's
yeah.
Missouri, Kansas. Forget what's northeast.
So
Well, there's
Kansas-
Arkansas.
Yeah,
Oh,
Arkansas. Yeah,
And Missouri is northeast.
is it northeast?
Yeah,
Co-
yeah,
so
yeah.
to
No, I
the
got you.
right
Yeah.
of Colorado is Kansas, and Oklahoma is like below Kansas
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know any about that. All those flyover states, and then Missouri's to the right of that.
Yeah.
Oh, so so Missouri borders Oklahoma.
Yeah, we're actually not. Yeah, Andrew and I, we're not far. From,
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys, I mean, it's like Georgia and Florida kind of difference.
Yeah, I think where I'm from, where he's from, is like 4 hours away from each other.
Where was he from again?
St. Louis.
It doesn't show it on the real quick map I'm looking at, but
Okay.
either way, it was super cool going out. It was the first time I'd ever been like quote unquote for me out west was when we went on that.
Yeah.
And it was super cool to me.
There's nothing. You see nothing.
Yeah.
At least from where I'm from.
Colorado and Utah were like in Arizona and Santa Fe, and we went to New Mexico as well, in Colorado and Utah and Arizona. That was the Four Corner states.
Gotcha.
And it was just such a crazy ass like change in scenery between each state was like so cool to me.
That's what I love about America.
America.
You just have so much, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah, it's cool.
And on that note, I'm getting hungry.
Yeah,
And-
Me
I've been
too. I'm like,
hungry
let's
the past
wrap
like
this
3
baby up.
hours.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I'm good.
How was it easy? Was it?
Yeah, it was easy.
Right.
I just
It was
walked.
more daunting than it needed to be. Right.
Yeah.
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 Told you. Easy money.
Right.
3
Okay.
You did 3 hours and 15 minutes.
That's impressive for me.
Yeah. You're not hard to talk to.
Thank you. Aw.
Does
It's
that
good.
mean a
Okay.
lot to you?
What?
Does that mean a lot to you?
No, it does.
Oh, okay. Well, good. I'm glad
Thank
it
you.
does because for other people, they're just like, it's just normal. Like Andrew is just like, oh,
You he can talk to himself. That's
I'm the
all.
same way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for doing this, Hannah.
Okay, thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Start your own podcast if you really want to.
Okay.
It's easy.
I'll let you guys
It
know.
doesn't even have to be your name. It can be somebody else's name.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll come up with one.
Come
All
up
right.
with a pseudonym.
Yeah.
Bounce it off me too because I want to hear what it is.
Okay, we'll talk about it.
All right. Sounds
All
good.
right.
Thank
Okay,
you for doing
thanks.
this.
Yeah,
All right.
thanks.
This episode of Somehow We're Adults is over, but if you'd like to support the podcast, you can subscribe to one of the levels of the Patreon, where we will release bonus episodes that can't be found anywhere else. Any of the money that we get from the Patreon would be used to upgrade old equipment, as well as get new gear so that we can make the best podcast for you to tune into. You can also follow the podcast Instagram at Somehow We're Adults, where I share clips and content about the podcast, and the link in the bio will take you to any of the Somehow We're Adults pages. I encourage you to check out another one of the episodes if this is your first time listening, and if you're a repeat listener, thank you for your support. I love making the podcast, and I hope you tune in for future episodes of Somehow We're Adults.